Welcome to the Rambling E.L.M, E-L-M, capitals to stand for E for Emily, L for Liz, and M for Mary Lou. Hi, I am Mary Lou.
Oh, Emily. That's me.
Alright, my name's Liz.
She's the hot one.
I'm the
I'm the
swollen-
handsome one, and Mary Lou's the charismatic bad boy.
I guess.
Oh, we all suffer from depression.
Yes.
It's true.
And if you dig deep enough with anybody, I think we all suffer from depression.
I very rarely ever met someone who didn't have depression, and whenever I did, I was just like, how?
Yeah, whenever I did, they
Who
were
didn't hurt you?
they were in old folks' homes and they didn't know their names. So I'm like, so you did have depression before it hit.
Yes.
I have a lot of shower thoughts throughout the day, which is weird because like when you're depressed, you either like go like days without a shower, and you're like, oh, it's fine because I have no sexual desire and I'm not going to go outside, so who's going to smell me? And then out of nowhere, like someone shows up to your house like, hey, I brought a cake because I haven't heard from you. I'm like, my ass! I have to run into the kitchen or the bathroom and I have to wash. But I have like shower thoughts all the fucking time, and that's the thing that really fucks me up with my depression. It has to be a duck noise.
Doing the duck and not the turkey because I have baby ducks upstairs that chirp currently. I'm waiting
You
for
have
them to
baby
do that.
ducks and you just now told us?
The stairs are so horrible to get up.
No, I saw those stairs,
They
dude.
go
My
straight
mom
up.
won't even go up
Dude,
the stairs.
as a
dude.
big bitch that has been a big bitch her whole life, whenever I see stairs, I have to immediately calculate, is that worth it? Before I go up there.
Can't do it.
Mm-mm.
So is your depression in bouts, or is it just kind of like a constant?
Well, I have like manic depressive episodes, so that's what like my therapist told me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll be depressed all the time at like a low interval, and then I'll have a manic episode where I can't go to sleep, and I'll be up for like 2-3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and just thinking about all the horrible things that ever happened to me in my life. Like the one time I accidentally cut off an old lady at like a grocery store, or several times
Like the
where
smallest inconvenience.
where I've had like nightmares where I owned a pet which I've never owned in my life and it died in my nightmare and I'm still guilty over it, and I'm like, can I just like, I wish I could sit down with my brain and say, look, we've had this talk. You didn't own an elephant! Like, it wasn't your fault that you fed it soup and it died. You didn't own it. You can move on. But I can't have that talk with my brain.
Right.
We're not on speaking terms. But
Well, because it's easier said than actually done.
yeah, it's like it's
You wish you could just shut it off, but it's...
well, people call it like the invisible handicap.
Mm-hmm. Every disability that's physical is taken seriously, yet the mental ones.
Well, yeah, because when you're
Get
depressed,
proof.
people just think you're lazy.
Well, no one gaslights someone in a
will.
wheelchair. Get up!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're done.
That's what it is. It's an invisible illness
back
for a
to-
lot of people. And what's worse is like, no one's saying that depression doesn't exist. They're just saying like, well, get over it, because they think it's that easy.
I literally had a friend mom that told me that because
Mhm.
like I've known her for 18 plus years, so the friend mom's kind of friend mommed me, and she goes, I think that you're depressed because you don't have anything to do. And I'm like, surviving is the only thing that's on my to-do list right now. I mean, the fact that I haven't killed
Yeah.
myself, unalived myself.
But
I'm
see,
sorry.
their idea of depression is like, oh no, I'm sad for like a minute, and like, oh okay, so I'm gonna watch this TV show that I love, and I feel so much better now. And I'm like, no, bitch, you were not depressed. You had a sad moment. Like depression is, I can't get out of bed because I just do not have the spoons or the ability to get out of bed.
I slept
Or
for
like
14
you're on
hours straight.
autopilot. Yeah, you either sleep too much, you don't sleep, you don't take care of yourself because you don't have the energy. It's not that you're lazy; it's just not fucking there.
No, it's that extreme fatigue because, like,
Yeah,
And you also know that like exercise will make you feel better because exercise gives you serotonin no
it's
matter
supposed
what.
to.
And then you're like, but to get up and actually do the exercise.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
that
so much
would kill
harder
me.
than it is in reality because people
Because
are like,
you,
oh,
you
well,
haven't showered, so now you're gonna sweat.
Well,
No, thank you.
What's worse is that you have all these people who are like, oh yeah, but you could just journal, or you could like
No.
eat healthy, or
Which
go,
one of us
go
has
on a
kept a
walk.
journal more than 3 days?
I've tried.
No hands.
It's hard.
It's impossible.
I've tried. And
Yeah.
I'll keep up with a journal for like maybe a week, and then I'll forget about it for months, and then I'll be like, ah, shit, and then I'll start all over again.
I just recently started doing like vlog a good day.
Like I'm
Vlogs.
supposed to be journaling
Vlogs,
with
yeah,
my
yeah.
therapy, but it's with my anxiety, so it's in the moment of the anxiety where I'll just write it out to deal with it. And
But
then I'll
when
come
you're
back
going
to it
through
and be
an
like, oh,
anxiety
that's so
thing,
silly that I was
It's
upset
like
about that.
it's like a cone of focus, and you can't do anything else besides what you're doing right there in that moment.
Exactly.
Like it's time to clean the fridge now, but it's 4 a.m. and you have to get up at 6 to get the sun on the bus, and I'm like, but the fridge.
See, that's that mania.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's that.
I
Everything's
got so
fast.
pissed at the therapist notes
I don't
too.
have many.
Does anyone ever read them? You get the notepad at the end,
Oh,
and I'm
no.
like, yeah, I'm like, oh, this is perfect for my rats. And I read it, and it was like, has manic depressive episode with series of mania, says doesn't have mania. I'm like, what the hell's mania? So I looked it up, and it says I go, I just go crazy, and I'm like, that bitch! I was so mad. I said, she thinks I'm mania? Oh, I'll show her mania. And then I had a moment that week, and I'm like, yeah, I got mania. Or I'm like, she knew me better than I
I've
knew
never seen
me.
my file. Not once.
I should like to see that file. Just out of morbid
It just
curiosity.
says bitch has depression and anxiety. Extreme.
They
Needs
might have
medicine.
worded that different.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure it's worded.
Um,
Needs
according
3
to-
Flintstone
So,
vitamins.
like, I took a test at the CDC, because the CDC gives you the ability to it's essentially just like a point fucking test where you fill in the bubbles where it's like, how anxious are you once a week, or do you have impulsive thoughts, or do you get angry for no fucking reason?
Yeah, like PhD
And it's based on how truthfully you answer that question. But some of them are worded in like a really vague way, where it's like, are you impulsive? And my brain gets stuck on, what do you mean specifically though? Because like sometimes I'm impulsive, but not all the time. Does that matter? No.
Do
you
I
didn't
buy a
give me that
Snickers when I
option, so I'm
shouldn't
gonna
have?
say 3 out of 5 impulsive. And then it's like, yeah, okay, cool. You have borderline personality disorder, and I'm like, excuse me? And then my therapist goes, no, the fuck you don't. You're not borderline.
Which bubble did you fill out?
Yeah, it's like, you're not borderline, you're not impulsive, you don't have extreme emotions. If anything, like, the only emotion you have is you're scared as shit or you're sad, and that's it. And I'm like, oh. And he goes, yeah, no, borderline's like, I'll fucking kill you. And that's their whole day.
Yep.
And then the next day they're, why don't you love me? And it's like,
I wanna
Susan,
share
you
a
screamed at
story.
me and threw a chair. What do you mean?
This isn't Steve Logos. I want to share a story, and I hope Mary Lou is cool with it.
Yeah, go
The
ahead.
day that she first kissed her now boyfriend, who we all live on the same street, so it's like, you know, like not a 2.0,
He lives,
but
like, right
like
across the street
trashy.
from me.
Yeah, and
That's-
she ran to my house and knocks on the door
More or
because
less.
we were going to have a craft day anyways. And she knocks on the door, and it's like that, and I'm like, who the hell's that? This is the police. I didn't know shit. I didn't see shit, and I've done nothing. Open the door. It's Mary Lou. She goes, let me in, and I'm like, okay. Welcome in. And she goes, I just kissed him. And I'm like, what? Who'd you kiss? And she goes, I kissed him and I ran. That's what she said. So like she didn't even allow
I kissed him and
herself
I
to
ran.
have like the moment. She was just like, bye. And like ran like an ostrich to my house. And I'm like, well, sit, we'll talk. She goes, nope, we can't talk. I have to process this. And she just sits for like 2 minutes. She goes, okay, I'm ready. Like, it's just like, I'm like, whoa, man, kissing evolved since I was a kid. I remember kissing and being like, did we do it? And they're like, yeah, we did it. And I'm like, whoa. Far out. You
That was
know?
something.
I wasn't born in the 70s, but I probably had a certain role. But like, so, and then now it's like kissing and then running. No wonder I'm married, because I couldn't do that again. Being on a date, like, see ya! Just gone. But that's her anxiety, because she was
Yeah.
just afraid to feel anything in the
Pretty
moment.
much, yeah.
And then like she goes, he's texting me. Do I text back? I was like, absolutely, you text back. You don't just kiss a man and run. Was this even Steve Wilkos?
Hey, you know, I understand that completely. I'm usually the one
You ever did
going,
a kiss and run, Liz?
no, I'm usually just the runner.
Just a runner?
Just the runner.
If we can catch her, we can kiss her. Get her!
No.
She's like, you'll never catch me.
But see, that's the funny thing, and like a lot of comedians have mentioned this too. The kicker with anxiety and depression is like, oh no, I'm so sad and I regret everything and everything sucks. But anxiety is like, I'm afraid of what's about to happen, and it's like, but I regret that I didn't do anything about it. And it's like, yeah, but pick one.
Anxiety
You can't
definitely
have both.
gaslights you too,
It
because it's
really
like,
does.
you remember that thing that you did like 20 years ago?
Well,
And I'm
what's
like,
worse
yeah, I
about
remember.
it, dude? You
Why'd
could
you do that?
You could be in a literal fire, like a life or death situation, and your anxiety does not activate at all. You are totally chill. You're like, oh yeah, no, cool. I know exactly what to do. But then someone like gives you a weird look in the grocery store, and you're like, oh my god, they hate me, and you don't even know them. Why does it matter? But your anxiety's going, I'm a terrible person.
I smiled at a person because I recognized them, because your brain never forgets a face,
Which is so weird.
if you're lucky. And I smiled at her, and she genuinely smiled at me too, and then the smile faded real quick, and I'm like, did we have a bad experience? Well, shit, I can't talk to her ever again. And I work at this grocery store. What do I do? I guess I avoid a customer, so I did. That's the end of that story. Smiled at someone. She probably had a bad experience with me, and I was like, well, that was a toxic me, so I can move on from that. And if she hasn't, that's on her. Liz, you haven't talked to us about your depression.
Yeah, you got any depression bouts?
You got dyed hair. Something about you's got to be depressed.
Hey, half of it is dyed.
It's gorgeous.
Thank
I
you.
like it.
We don't feel feelings. We dye hair and we keep going.
Yes, dry hair, drink coffee, and run. No. So I'm definitely bipolar. I got the bouts of depression and bouts of mania, so I will go. The manias are usually pretty destructive. I've quit many a job, ran too many things. I'll usually start a business or something irrational. And
Like
I'll
your
be-
snail races.
snail races.
You owe me $100, Liz, is what I'm trying to tell you. No, I'm teasing.
I
invested and I saw nothing.
Yeah.
I would probably owe somebody, but there's a reason why I have 500 unfinished projects because
Oh, dude, me too. And then it gives you anxiety because you see them and they're
Yes.
like, hey, Liz, do you remember me? And you said all you had to do was find that glue. You bought it.
that's it. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, prime example, look at this mic. I was going to be a singer. That was my idea. So for I think it was a 4,
Singer Liz.
5, I'm a terrible singer. I
I
don't know
haven't
what I
heard
was
you.
thinking.
See,
Terrible.
what's funny is I don't have the mania, but I have potential acute ADHD. I haven't been officially diagnosed, so I'm not entirely sure. It could just be I'm this much impulsive versus the reality of the impulsiveness of ADHD. So I don't have mania, but I will get hyper focused into a project where I'm mods. I'm gonna make mods, and that's my entire focus. And then I've made 5 mods, and my brain goes, I'm
That's
done.
enough moths.
And then I will I will not touch it again for who knows how long. And then my brain's like, ooh, chalk pastels.
But
I'm
isn't
gonna
that why?
make all these chalk pastel pictures, and then I make one, and I go, I'm done. I got it out of my system.
But
And
that's
then
why
it's
we do
what am I
craft
gonna
day.
do with all these materials? I have nothing to make. I
I
don't
would
wanna
like
go
to
back
invite
it.
you to craft day. Because we sit down,
Absolutely.
the one thing that we have noticed, and we have done many a craft day now.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, Mary Lou used to work with me every fucking day for the rest of my life for 3 years, and never came to my house but once a year. She visited my only cat when she got spayed. Not even me, just my cat, because my cat loved her. And then she never talked to me for a year, and then I did I tried to do a doll repaint. She looked terrible. And then Mary Lou's like, you got detail brushes? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, let me find out if you got detail brushes. So she comes over to my house, and then every week we did a craft day, and now we're best friends. I told you I would make you my best friend, and it took 4 fucking years to do
I have
it.
extreme social anxiety.
Yes, she
Sorry.
did. I literally, we were
I've gotten
working
better.
together. We were working together, elbow to elbow, and I was like,
I was unmedicated then.
yo, you're still unmedicated.
No,
You
I'm on
just-
medicine now. It's better.
Well, it's.
It's
I'm not here to
getting there.
gaslight you. I'm just saying certain days you are medicated, okay? But I messaged her or whatever on Facebook. I'm like, hey, do you work tomorrow? And she goes, oh, I don't know. And then that's the end of our conversation. I'm like, okay. So then I printed out the schedule sheet every day, and I'm like, so cool, I get to hang out with Mary Lou tomorrow. And I talked to her, and I'm like, dude, we have everything in common. Would you like to come to my house? It's just down the road. She goes, oh, no, thank you. And I'm like, you can say that? That's really rude. I didn't know that was an option. I thought you had to say, oh, yeah, totally, dude. We should totally hang out, and then never talk to them again.
Yes.
But because you had to work with me, you had no choice but to say, no, thank you. And I'm like, but literally, I can draw you a map to my house. My house is a house with all the pumpkins. She goes, oh, yeah, I live right down the street from you. I'm like, see, you don't even have to drive. 0 gas money. Just come on over. We'll have a coffee. We'll speak. She goes, I'm okay. And I'm like, that's not an option. You just come and hang out with me. And then if the vibe's off, then we don't have to ever talk again. You know, we can just, but no, she was like, no, we are work friends, and that's it. And that's the end of it.
I
Sorry.
had this really weird, I was trying to keep work separate from life. And,
Not with me, boo. Not with me.
I was trying, though.
Yeah, and there was even a time where I was like, oh, I get it. You just don't want to hang out with me because my shit's shitty, and I get it. And she goes, no, that's not it at all. And her anxiety went off. She had a Tina Belcher moment where she went, ee. She didn't even know. She made that noise. I'm not kidding. She made that noise out loud because trying to show me it's a predator thing where I'm like, okay, come to my house, come to my house, come to my house. And Mary Lou, because she has bright colors telling me that she's poisonous, goes, ee, as the last moment to tell me, then I'm gonna attack. And I was just like, okay, let me find out. So then eventually I convinced her to come over, and she wouldn't even sit on my furniture. She sat on the
Sat on the
ground.
floor.
And I'm like,
The floor is comfort.
Yeah,
well,
it's safe.
her anxiety was like, we're loud in her house, don't touch anything she owns.
Neurodivergent brain says floor is safe.
No,
Floor
you
good.
were probably hunted by fairies or some shit. Because isn't that if you go to a fairy's place, you're not supposed to eat their food?
Well, no, it's just a weird thing
Oh,
I
you
do.
didn't know
yeah,
that.
it is.
Mhm.
The folklore is if you See
Eat
a ring
fairy
of
food.
If you see a ring of mushrooms, do not step inside because you're inviting the fae to take whatever. You do not speak your name around the fae, or they'll take it from you. And you do not take their food because then you
can't
owe
leave.
them something and you can't leave.
Oh, so you like owe them something.
So
in return.
Mary Lou's
Yeah.
like, if I sit in her chair, she owns me. And I'm like,
Gotcha.
not at all, Mary Lou. You can sit in my chair because I bought them to be sat in. And then she's like, absolutely not. I'll sit on the floor. Sits on the floor. The carpet is spent, dude. There are stains in there from the previous renters. There are stains I can't even
Just
like
like-
shout and bleach. Nothing has gone out. It's probably demon blood. And Mary Lou's like, this is perfect. I love it. And my cat's like, whoa, this human's on the ground. Let me smell her. You're a good friend. That's what the cat said. And then she never saw me again for another year. I'm like, she's like Father Christmas. Only it's like the one person I really want to hang out with all the time because we're both artsy. We both only have one child. We both are pretty fucking hot. I mean, I'm just saying. You look, I'd hang out with a mirror if it wasn't so detrimental to my health. Where like Richard, whenever he leaves, he puts a mirror in the room so I know I'm not alone, and I go like with my head. I'm sorry, you can't see it, but like I'm always like, oh yeah, this pretty bird in the mirror. It's cool. I have my own wheel. Well, you guys give me weird looks. If anything, if he leaves me to my own devices, I'll just choose something. So, did you see that they have that now? They have anxiety jewelry that you can chew.
Yes.
Yeah. They're like
And I see
rubber
that none of us
silicone
have
things.
it, but we should totally do
I
that.
do not.
The
It's also
stimming?
really good for it's like a stem necklace almost.
Stimming?
Yeah. Right.
Sounds like a sex thing.
No,
it's not.
no.
Yeah, I'm
It's,
thinking of edging.
It's really good
Oh,
for
yes.
like people with autism, people who have just like a need to chew and etc. So they're like rubber or silicone. We had them at the daycare that I worked at because kids love to bite, and so it's like here, bite this instead of our buddies, and so they're like yeah, but
We
then they
used to
still bite the
use-
other kids because they're babies.
We used to use other babies that didn't pay their bills, but is that too dark?
But yeah,
Here,
so
bite this.
they're just these like little rubber jewelry things that let you like get your need to chew out without actually damaging anything, including your own teeth, because like you're not chewing on something hard.
I have all my teeth are broken that can touch because I damage them in my sleep.
I
and
used
I'll
to
wake up
grind
and
my
go-
teeth in my
I go,
sleep.
Spit out like a tooth. And I'm like, that's all you got? I didn't hear no bell. To my
I'm
anxiety.
like missing the tip of a whole tooth because I grinded it off.
This one I cracked in half. I don't know if you can see.
You still have such pretty teeth. You're like, look how broken this tooth is. Shy.
You want to trade teeth?
Beautiful. I would.
Okay.
I would totally trade.
Give me Chrissy.
Mine
and I'll
are
give you 3
permanently
teeth.
stuck inside my mouth with a metal bar.
This is worth 5.
And
I know. Just for the chat, because nobody knows this, Chrissy is a they-them partner to Liz, and they're wonderful, and I love them.
They are the
I love
world.
your whole family.
Thank you.
It's like a package deal. It's like Bluey's family almost. Like, no, you can't just give me Bluey and Bingo. I need the mom and the dad. It doesn't make sense. You don't know Bluey?
It's a really
Oh,
sweet
you
kid show.
know Bluey.
I know Teletubbies. She doesn't watch Teletubbies anymore, though. Makes me really sad.
Yada,
My
I
sister
don't
had a
know
life-size
if you have
Tinky
Disney
Winky.
Plus. If you have Disney Plus, you should check out Bluey.
It's an Australian
Or
show.
just YouTube.
It's more
Bluey.
for I would say to the parents than the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because it teaches the parents are in every episode. It's not like Peppa Pig where she's like, I'm going on an adventure and bye mommy, bye daddy, and then like they just
Peppa
do
Pig
whatever
taught my
they
kid
do.
how to throw tantrums.
She taught British. Her kid's not British.
No, my
I
kid-
checked.
No, my daughter had a British accent for like almost a year because we watched Peppa Pig so much. So she was going around like, I need to get my boots to step in puddles, and I'm just
If
like,
you're gonna step in
That's
muddy puddles, you need
and then
your boots.
it wore off when we weren't allowed to watch Peppa anymore because she would just be like, and I'm like, no, we're not doing this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and now there's that whole thing too that Coco Melon is like making kids.
Well, because it's overstimulating. It's
you know what's
so
overstimulating for
active
me?
that these kids like they
Having
don't have
2
a
friends to
second
talk
to
to, I'm
breathe.
overstimulated. I need to go back in my enclosure. Oh, I'm sorry. I know that we cut you off about your depression. What else do you
Yeah.
I gather my thoughts. I forgot.
Liz, you always forget about yourself so often because you always put everyone in first, and we love
Oh.
that about you, but it's really
It's
bad.
a trauma thing.
Dude, my therapist makes fun of me for it.
So
She's
your
like, oh, you're
therapist
such a
gaslights you?
caretaker.
Me too.
She's very much like, oh, you're the caretaker. I know. And I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. I've done this before, too. Like, I know.
Oh, you're trying to hurt my feelings?
Yeah. I have to always be comical. I don't know.
You're the
Especially-
one that's paid to be here and not me. I can leave.
I know, and it's such a hard switch because my therapist would be like, well, you know what. I'm like, I know what technique you're doing. No, I'm not cool for it. We're not here for it.
Because
No,
you're a
change.
certified therapist.
Yes, and that's kind of the issue. When you guys were talking about therapist notes, I'm like, they ought to know not to write down anything harmful because that's you're trained not to write down. You know?
I think that's why I'm not allowed to see my file, because my file is just simplified as a anxiety, depression, whatever.
Yes.
And whatever personal notes, they're all on the computer. I have no idea what she's typing.
They don't
on
print
there.
out the personal notes.
I don't know.
That's for the therapist before they talk to your psychologist.
Yeah, it's for them, for their file work, so that
Yeah.
they know what to bring up at the next session, essentially. Or,
I'm-
like, what to keep note of.
I'm comfortable with talking about this, but, like, I had to wet his bum.
Oh, no.
In case he got hot.
Okay, fair enough.
Jesus.
Does he need to go?
No, he's fine. He's fine.
Bold?
But, like, also it encourages... Okay, I have a rat in my sleeve, and he's a baby, but it also encourages him to use the restroom if I wet his bottom.
Oh.
So... In other news, so... What were we talking about therapy?
Therapist
Depression
notes.
things, notes, whatnots.
Okay, yeah. So, the notes that my therapist says or whatever, it was the funniest thing ever, but, like, I'm comfortable with talking about this, that, like, I don't have gender issues. I would just say that I've always felt this way, and it's kind of cool that, like, I can actually... People have done research on it to where I can talk about it, and I'm like, hey, that's me. It's like I'm a drag queen stuck in a cis female's body, and yes, I'm married to a male, so... But, like, there's that stigma that if you are bisexual, which I am, if you're married to a man, then you're straight, and I'm like, that's not it. I'm just monogamous. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm not a hoe and bisexual.
People
But-
try to
Minimize it.
to
Try
do
to
that
try
with
to ruin it.
bisexuals so much, where they're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, so you're straight," and it's like, "Well, no, I'm still bi. I just decided to get with a guy."
Well, when
and
I
it's
told
like,
my
"Oh,
family,
but goodness forbid, because you went with the male-female thing, you're not bisexual." It's like, no, I totally am.
no,
I
it's just
you know,
dicks
stuck
are
with this one.
fun. If we're being honest.
Yeah.
Okay, all of us.
Well, no,
One
like
vote for dick, everybody.
I also enjoy, but like to each their own. Some people do not enjoy that at all, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I told
floats
my
your boat.
family that I might be femme male on the inside, basically. Well, Mary Lou told me that it was like a Native American thing where I'm like two-spirited. Because I don't feel feminine all the time. I don't feel masculine all the time. And,
You could even call that gender fluid or non-binary, if
Non-binary.
you wanted.
Yeah.
but I'm okay with whatever pronouns you give me. If you call me a lady or if you call me a dude, I'm cool with both of that.
Oh, that's
But
not
I
fair,
noticed
it
that
is.
some of the jokes that I land, I'm talking like Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps, which is like the male dominant voice, but no one can hear it because it's coming from me. And I'm like, that joke's a lot funnier if you're a dude. You know what I mean? Versus if you're a girl, which is not as funny. Because, I don't know how to say
I
it.
guess
it's
like
in the moment thing. If I
yeah.
can tell you, I'm like, oh, that was a dude that talked to you, by the way. But, tell it to my therapist and she wrote it down in her notes really fast, too. And, like the typing, like, noise. And, I'm like, what'd you just do there, friend? And she goes, because you have gender identity disorders, which she already diagnosed me with, like, 2 seconds. And probably because I came in there with, like, drag makeup on with a rat around my neck. She's like, something about this person screams daddy issues. But, and she goes, so now, if we talk about it, your insurance will cover it. And I'm like, so now my insurance has to understand that I have gender identity disorders?
Yeah, kind of, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, but then,
Yes.
like, something that we're doing right now is that we're going through infertility. So, could you imagine being my caseworker that's looking through all these bills and they're like, gender identity disorder? Okay, so it's one of those. Infertility? What the hell? How are they infertile? Which part of them doesn't work? And I'm like, I don't know. That was something, too, that, like, I wanted to talk about. It doesn't have to be this session, but, like, infertility in itself, it causes depression.
Yeah.
Don't be
Yeah.
sad, Liz. I love your sweet little face. She gets so sad for me whenever I talk about babies.
I changed my face. I changed it.
Yeah, but I can see it's just a mask. You're like, I changed my face. It moves the mask.
It's different for those who can naturally and those who can't, and I can
Mhm.
completely understand, despite the fact that I've had a kid. Completely understand the
The whole time the doctors were mad at her because she was overweight and pregnant.
yeah. Oh,
No,
yeah,
there's a stigma for overweight people.
There's a whole thing I can get into if you guys ever want to hear it.
I will let you
We
talk.
can even
and
make
sit
it a
back.
whole other session if you
Let's
want.
do
or
this
like a
now
thing.
because Liz is interested.
Yeah, shit,
Look
why
at that.
not?
That's her face of intrigue.
So I ended up pregnant, more or less by mistake. You know,
Okay.
You knew
Bad
what you were
choices.
doing.
well, no. Okay, so full disclosure. The guy that I was with, his mother insisted that he was infertile because of like some nonsense when he was younger, like medically speaking. He had like a shunt in the back of his head because of spinal fluid issues, yada yada yada. Which that doesn't affect fertility at all.
I thought it was other
But-
fluids that make you pregnant.
Yeah. So that doesn't affect fertility at all. But somehow or other way, she's like, oh yeah, no, my son can't have kids because like that he's shooting blanks. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we kind of fucked around without any sort of safety because I wasn't thinking in the moment. I wasn't considering any kind of circumstances or repercussions.
No.
So, we fucked around, we did things. I end up getting pregnant, and my initial reaction is to go like, I thought you were infertile. And he's like, when did I ever say I was infertile? And I'm like, but your mom did. He goes, my mom's on drugs. And I'm just like, that's cool. Maybe you could have said something.
Maybe you should have asked.
Yeah, so that whole relationship was a crap fire, and he's not involved in my daughter's life at all. And it's a whole situation.
But it's okay, because
it's fine. Cause, but essentially, like, throughout my entire pregnancy, they were entirely concerned on my weight. Like, so they find out I'm pregnant, they find out how far along I am.
Doctors.
Yeah, the doctors, the gynecologist or whatever, what have you. So, I get there, and the doctors are like, oh, okay, so you're a little heavy set, and we would rather you stay right around this weight throughout your pregnancy. And so they're like, we're not saying starve yourself, but if you could keep your weight down, that would be preferred. And I'm like, okay. So I was trying to, like, meet the health requirements where I'm, like, taking in enough protein for the pregnancy and yada, 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 like, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to take in twice as much protein because, like, your body's making a baby.
Yes.
Well, the risk factors, though, of being overweight while pregnant is that there's too much pressure on the baby.
Well, there was a lot.
On the belly fat.
They were worried about
gestational diabetes. Gestational diabetes.
Yeah, well, they were worried about diabetes, period.
Yeah, there's a woman on a documentary.
Because I had all the red flags for it.
Blind in one eye while she was pregnant.
Oh, yeah, because
and she never got the vision back even after gestational diabetes immediately is cured as soon as you have the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not filtering sugar out for two people.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the vision, when you lose your vision, it's gone. I'm type 2 diabetic, and I'm losing vision in this eye, but I'm not telling doctors because that's my secret. So.
But yeah, the whole pregnancy, they were like hyper focused on my weight, and they were like, okay, well, we need you to keep your weight down. We need you to keep it like below. I think it was like 275 or something like that.
But they're expecting the baby to grow.
Yes.
And gain weight. And that was so they're expecting you to lose weight.
I was literally told at 2 months pregnancy that I was not allowed to gain more than 30 pounds. Like, period. And so I barely managed to stay within that the whole 9 months. And, full honesty, I could not feel my child at all, which often had me going back to the doctor like, hey, is it still alive in there? Because, like, I don't feel anything, and I should have felt something by now. And they're like, yeah, no, baby's fine. You just have a lot of padding between you and the baby. And I'm like, okay, appreciate that you took that approach. You can just say fat. Like, you've made your point very clear.
I'm not eating.
Just be honest.
Insulation.
Yeah, like, you can just be honest at this point. I'm aware that I'm overweight and that's, the main concern here. Like, I was induced because they were concerned that my weight was putting too much pressure on the fetus and that it was bad for the baby in the long run. And I did the math. My kid was a month early, but was fully developed. Lungs were good to go. Baby was good to go. So baby just... Whoop.
Talk about the labor real quick, because they were pissed at you for having a good labor.
The doctors were pissed at me my whole pregnancy.
Because she wasn't getting diabetes.
Yeah, so I never got gestational diabetes.
How dare you?
Didn't get it.
How dare you?
Okay, so that's the thing. You have all these people who are like half my size, if not significantly smaller, who are having all of these like
hypertension,
pregnancy problems. Yeah, complications. The blood pressure was going up. They had this, they had that. My blood pressure was golden the whole pregnancy.
Sugar's
the worst,
perfect.
literally, my worst side effect, and I feel bad about it, but my worst side effect during pregnancy is I had full body eczema. So I was covered in hives for like a month.
They call that pups when you're
pregnant.
Well,
we thought it was like scabies or something.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Scabies are usually on your back, though.
Well, yeah.
And then they migrate.
But, like, we didn't know what it was. I just knew that I was covered in a weird rash, head to toe. My brother and my dad had sympathy rashes, but they didn't realize that that's what it was, because we thought it was some sort of contagion.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they had sympathy rashes, and that was the worst of my pregnancy. Like, I had typical morning sickness that lasted about a month, and then that was it. Those were the only complications I had my whole pregnancy.
No, there's
And my
something
doctors were pissed about it. Because
they're like,
I get
wait
to,
till
like,
after this test,
Yeah,
and then we'll wake you up, and
they-
then you'll lose weight.
They gave me
No.
3 different glucose tests throughout my pregnancy
Yeah.
because they were super concerned that I was going to get the gestational diabetes and that it was going to, affect the baby or whatever. I never had it. My sugar always came back perfect. And I even had one nurse who, to my face, she was like, "Oh, wow." And I'm like, "Wow." And she goes, "Yeah, your sugar's really good." And I'm like, "You say that like you're surprised." She goes, "A little bit, sweetheart. A little bit." And I'm just kind of like, "Okay, cool. Little rude, but cool."
Well, doctors have to be rude because they're
Well,
thinking that
yeah.
if you listen to someone who went to college for this shit, you'll be like, oh, okay, so now I'll lose weight because you finally hurt my feelings.
Well, no,
enough.
see, that was the thing. It wasn't even about my weight at that point. Like, they were surprised that I didn't have diabetes. They were then surprised that my blood pressure stayed fine. They were surprised that I didn't have any of these complications that I should have had, statistically speaking. Being overweight, being as pregnant as I was,
Okay.
I should have had all of these complications, and I didn't have any of them.
They
Like,
also said she probably would have had a C-section because when you're fatter,
you almost
the
always end up
pushing-
with a C-section because of the pressure that happens with the fetus
it's
and
hard
stuff.
to push when you have so much fat in between you and the baby.
Well, because it can also cause a heart attack with the female.
It's a lot of stuff.
Because it's too much,
and
like,
they
stress.
can't monitor the baby's
Yeah.
heartbeat because it's that wrap thing.
Yes, 'cause
And
it's too
then,
much.
did you have a C-section?
No, I did not.
No, she
I
gave
had
birth
a
vaginally.
natural.
Perfectly. Gorgeous baby.
Congratulations.
I know.
Yeah,
It's-
no.
But that's the whole roller
crap.
coaster. She couldn't even enjoy her pregnancy because every time she goes to the doctor, she knows that dread that the doctor is going to be like, what'd you do this time? Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, just getting consistently bullied by your physician.
Yeah, more or less.
Like, that's what that
and
is.
that was the interesting thing, is because like the whole pregnancy, they were just like, wow, like it's great that your blood pressure is fantastic and that your this is that is good, but
Well, because they have to say
it
that.
kind of should have been. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
sorry.
You-
I'm sorry.
You think
I'm
that
healthy.
I have like a
I
blood
don't.
donor for my diabetes? I'm like my arm's completely
Well,
numb. I
see,
can't see, and I'm
I
like, this is
actually
my
had to
blood.
change positions. I had to change positions because my original doctor, when I was pregnant with my kid, my original doctor looked me in my face and he goes, "Being as morbidly obese as you are, you're supposed to have all of these health complications, and the fact that you don't is flabbergasting to me." And I'm just kind of like,
Why not
"I'm
just
sorry." And he goes,
celebrate
"No, it
the
just."
baby's healthy,
He's
she's
like,
healthy.
you are a medical wonder to me." And I think he meant it as a positive, but the way it came off was not positive at
That's
all.
negative.
Because he was like, your brother, who is smaller than I am, he's like, he has borderline diabetes. He has these problems. He has those problems. Those should be your problems. Like, you should have switched.
my bad.
Like, because your brother's a healthy weight. Your brother's doing the right stuff. And you're not. And
My
I'm like,
brother's
I'm
not
sorry,
pregnant."
I'm fat. I don't know what you want me to do. And he's like, you're obese, but you're healthy. And that doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Liz, I don't think that you've ever been obese, have you?
Yeah.
Do you know the classifications, like 100
It
pounds
doesn't
over your
take much
ideal?
to be medically obese,
I
actually.
was, let's see. I think my highest was 250 something. Yeah,
That's
250
amazing to
something.
me because you were very petite.
Well, I used to be like, I want to say 120, 130 before getting pregnant with Solaire. Then I got pregnant and I got so sick. I gained over 100 pounds when I was pregnant because I was so sick.
Mm-hmm.
I had the high blood pressure. I had everything going on, but yet because I was
My
still in the
sister-in-law
thinner stage,
almost
they weren't as
died.
worried.
My sister-in-law's
but with
like
her-
kidney started shutting down mid, like
Yes.
yeah,
I mean,
Excuse me.
it's
mid birth, and they had to do an emergency C-section because of it.
Yeah.
Because they were like, if we don't, we're gonna lose both of them because her body was shutting down slowly. She was essentially going through like, I don't know if it was like an endocrine overload or what was going on, but her body was under so much stress that it was shutting down.
Yeah, but it's not processing because
Yeah.
it can't anymore.
And
Yeah.
then I'm over here like, I didn't have any of these problems. And like, the labor didn't even last very long. I was in labor for like maybe 3 hours.
She was a champ.
Yeah.
First
I
baby.
shit
First
you not.
baby.
I shit you not. And I actually felt really bad because as I'm in labor and I'm having like 0 problems, the girl in the next room is flatlining.
Screaming, right?
No,
Yeah.
she's flatlining. I could hear her machine going off. And I'm like, why are the nurses not running? Because I had like 3 nurses in my room, and I'm like, why aren't one of you checking in on her? And they're like, oh, she does that every few minutes. And I'm like, I'm sorry, she flatlines every few minutes, and you're just gonna stand there?
I don't need the help. I just need a catcher. Like, someone catch the baby, please.
You know, at some point they had like sat me up, and the baby's heartbeat goes, woof, and they were like, oh, okay, we're not gonna have you sit up, we're just gonna have you lay down. And I'm like, okay, because for 2 seconds he considered a C-section only because her heartbeat went poof, and then the minute that they had me lay down, it went back to normal. And he goes, what? Stay.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
My sister had to ask a nurse to leave the room and not come back. So when you get
Do
your...
that? I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you absolutely can. When you are a patient at any hospital, you can request a new nurse. There's always a new nurse. And if they say, I'm the only nurse, and say, I don't want to be seen right now.
Because, I didn't know you could do that.
Well, okay, so like, this is just a piece of advice too. When I had my gallbladder taken out, I had to get a shot in the belly button to make sure I did not get a blood clot. And I was 18. I was a baby.
What?
And they came at 2 a.m. 2 a.m., Mary Lou. They walk in. They're like, hi, how are you doing while they're unloading and everything? I'm like, what you got there? What is that? And they're like, oh, will you sign, like, you're the one with the gallbladder, right? And I'm like, yes, I don't have it anymore. And they're like, okay, good. So this shot's going to go in your belly button. It's going to prevent any blood clots. And I said, no, it's not. You stay on that side of the room. No, you're not coming near me. And I got hostile. I'm not hostile, am I?
No.
I'm very not hostile. She goes, well, then, she flipped on me. She's like, well, then you have to sign this paper saying that you're refusing treatment. And I'm like, yeah, the shot stays over there. Please bring me the paper. So then she brings me the paper in big letters. I said, how the fuck no? They came back the next day. I was in the hospital for a week. Every day at 2 a.m. They thought I was lacking. I didn't sleep at all. As soon as 2 a.m. came around, I was like, every time, I was like, who's at the door? Never anybody cool. But yeah, you can refuse treatment for anything at a hospital because they can't bill you unless they treat you. But with my sisters, when you go get an epidural, you know you have to sit on the edge of the table.
They have to like put it in your spine, and it's very
and you have to go
because if you
can fuck up your ability to walk.
If you move at all, you can make yourself paralyzed.
Yeah, well, the nurse...
And if they fuck it up, they can paralyze you.
Well, yes, and you sign a waiver for it, so you can't sue.
You
can't sue
so
shit.
It's not on... You're not allowed to say anything, because it's like, oh, you wanted it. You wanted that shot.
And this is nothing negative
I got it because I couldn't
for anybody who is a nurse. I'm not saying all nurses are like this.
No.
But Manda, she was a bigger lady. And more so in her chest, she had like enough tits for the whole family. And they had her at the edge of the bed, and you have your precious child inside of you still, and you're in a lot of pain, so you're in a very vulnerable position. And now you're at the edge of the bed, and the nurse is supposed to hold you up, right? And the other one, the esthetician or whatever, is supposed to go right in the back. Well, sorry for using you as a mannequin.
No, you're fine.
I was totally using her as a mannequin. I totally forgot Mary Lou doesn't like being touched.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay.
She's the one mannequin that's only for display. But as they're doing that, Amanda did a little like, "Ooh, I'm about to fall" motion, and the nurse said, "Do not hit me," like that to Amanda.
What the hell?
What?
And Amanda's like, "I didn't mean to hit you. I almost fell." And the lady goes, "Okay, well you're just getting an epidural. You need to stay still." Obviously, the lady was having a bad day.
Yeah.
So after her epidural, she left. She asked the doctor or whoever just did the thing, who was that nurse? And they're like, oh, well, her name was Monica or something like that. And she goes, oh, she's not allowed back in my room. If she comes back in my room, I'm going to fucking throw a fit. So Monica was told, and could you imagine that feeling of being told, hey, I'm going to be on the labor, how exciting is that? And then they're like, Monica, you're not allowed back in there. Why? You just said that she hit you, and all she did was fall. She's mad at you. You're not allowed back in there. And then, like, not too long ago either, like, have you ever guys had, like, get your blood drawn and they put a butterfly in your vein?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get constantly blood drawn or something like that? Mm-hmm. Well, when I had COVID, because I had diabetes, they gave me something that was supposed to, like, flush and help your immune system. And I'm very thankful for that because of that. Like, my COVID, like, was, like, short a few days. But while I was doing that, the lady went to go get my butterfly in, and it didn't work. So she tried it again, and I'm like, it hurts so fucking bad because it's a thick-ass needle. And I'm like, like that a little bit. And she goes, I'm sorry. I'm kind of new to this. And I'm like, that's fine, dear. Let's figure this out. So then she does it again, and finally it's in there. And I'm like, oh, thank fucking God. And I moved, and it came out, and I started crying. And the nurse came back, and she goes, what happened? I'm like, and she goes, what? I was like, it came out! And she put it back in. And then she left for the day. And someone else came in. And I'm like, I'm terrified it came out again. And she goes, oh, no, she went home. I'm experienced. I can do it. And I'm like, you can? She goes, yeah. No pain. Did it. And I'm like, I started sweating. I was like, man, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I need help, but at the same time, I can't do it. Like, I just didn't. Neither could she. But, like, yeah, you guys can absolutely, that's the lesson. You can absolutely refuse any type of
Healthcare.
Huh. Absolutely.
I really wish I would have known that when I was younger.
Yeah, same.
Because that would have been incredibly
So
nice.
helpful.
Look how sleepy.
Yeah.
Aw.
I'm so
Baby
sleepy.
boy.
Abracadaniel and my baby ready.
Yeah, no, I wish I had known things previously, because I learned after the fact of having my child that the doctor who helped me deliver did a very, very ill-advised, mildly illegal thing.
He gave you a kiss.
No,
For the pain.
okay, so you're supposed to deliver the baby, right?
Mhm.
And then you deliver the afterbirth.
Mhm.
Yes.
You are not supposed to, under any circumstances, manhandle the afterbirth like it's a fucking yo-yo on a string out of the woman's body. And that's
It's still
exactly what he
technically
did.
attached.
He just pulled it out of there like it was on a goddamn pulley
Like it was a
system.
magic trick. Guys, look at
Yeah,
this.
straight up. He just yoinked it out of there, and then he starts getting into the
Was this
stitching
your
thing.
card?
Yeah, and so he's like
I know
oh,
it's
you
so
got a
good.
little rip. We're just going to stitch that back up. And I'm like, could you put a little numbing agent on that? And he goes, can you feel that? And I'm like, I absolutely can.
You guys are scaring me now because now I'm terrified to give birth.
It's not great. There's a lot of things that can go wrong and probably will.
They will.
Thank
And
you.
I'm not going to tell you my
I'm
story.
Genuinely, I was expecting so much crap to go wrong throughout my pregnancy, and the fact that none of it did is the only thing that I had going for me.
Probably
And
why you
I
only have one
figured,
kid.
well, through sheer irony, I figured that the only reason why my pregnancy went so smoothly is because everything else was going to shit around me.
It's the one thing that
Like,
you
with
had going.
the relationship was going badly, there was all this other drama going on, and so my body was like, you know what, we're already stressed, we're just gonna ride this one out.
The uterus
This
is
one's
like,
fine.
leave it. I know it's
This
a uter
is- this
us,
isn't the problem.
but leave it to uter me to make this baby.
Yeah, because it was like, you know what, we're just gonna feed the little parasite, we're fine, everything's great.
Ooh,
good.
Don't
doesn't
we
hear
focus
this.
on this stuff?
Parasite.
I actually called
You
her a
didn't say
parasite
that,
before she
Mom,
was born.
when you needed
I'm
my
not gonna
kidney.
lie. I fell like twice during pregnancy. I'm surprised that kid made it, but she did. I didn't mean to fall. It's not like I did it on purpose.
No, of course
But,
not.
like-
Sounds like someone who falls on purpose would say.
No, dude. But I told her, because I did have a really weird, surreal moment where I was like in the bathtub or something. And I was like 8.5 months pregnant, and you couldn't really tell I was pregnant because I was already chubby. So
Perfect time to
you
take a bath.
couldn't visibly tell that I was pregnant until like my stomach got like hard instead of squishy, and I was like, oh, okay, now you can kind of tell, but it
There's
just
a
looks like I have
human in my
tumor
barrel.
in my stomach. But there was a moment in the bathtub where, you know, like you can kind of see the babies ripple if they're inside your belly, like if they kick or something, and you can see the belly like. And she did one of those, and I'm just like, you're a little fighter, aren't you? And I'm like, I'm not gonna get rid of you. Not that I was trying.
Took you
to,
8.5
but, like,
months to
you're a
realize you
little
were
kicker.
stuck with it.
Well, no, I just kind of had like this weird surreal moment where I'm like, you know, this, like, I've gone through so much crap and so many things could have gone wrong, and this baby is perfectly fine.
Yes, because
like,
you expected
Very
it.
healthy,
Yeah.
totally doing, you know, the best that the baby can do.
Moisturized, staying in its lane,
And, yeah,
thriving.
I'm just like, I expected to have all these complications, and I didn't. And the fact that the baby was born with like zero problems, she just had a little bit of a cone head because, you know, she got squeezed out.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
Yeah. And I was just like, she has a
Well,
cone head.
I guess
And
that's
they're
why,
no,
like,
that's
we
normal.
don't have our skull fused,
Mhm.
so we can fit out the chute.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
put on a hat so I don't see the alien head. So
I think that's why they immediately put on a hat, so that way
Yeah,
you
they
don't,
do,
like,
because it's
immediately, like,
disturbing.
ooh, look at that thing, I don't like it, it looks like being an
It's
android.
visibly disturbing. It is.
It is.
Thank
Well,
you,
let me
I'm
tell
looking
you,
forward to seeing my parasite.
Hey,
No.
yours is going to be beautiful, and you're going to do fine.
If it doesn't come out with fake eyelashes on, no, it's not mine. If it doesn't come out saying, ta-da!
Oh, have you noticed, and I've noticed this with some people who have, like, recently had babies, apparently babies who are being born, like, more recently, if they have, like, hair on their back of any kind, they want to scan their hips. I don't know what the correlation is there, but I'm like, my
Hairy
baby
bones.
came out, well, no,
It's happening.
like, my
I guess
baby
so.
came out with fuzz all over her body, and they never scanned
Well,
her
babies
hips for
are
anything, so
covered in
I don't know
that,
if there's, like,
and
a
it falls
new...
out.
Yeah.
A new medical
the-
thing that's
yeah.
attached to like the baby fuzz or what? But now they're like, oh, it's got a furry ass. We gotta make sure the hips are fine. And
Could
I'm
you
like,
imagine
why?
the doctor that delivered Robin Williams? He's like, oh god, get the scanner! Quick! Look at this boy, it's a fucking Sasquatch, get it! And then he goes, hey, what's up with doctors, huh? Teasing, I'm sorry. Liz, let's hear your birthing story.
Yeah.
I'm interested in it, if you're interested in talking about it.
I'll tell part of it.
Yeah.
So part of it.
Well, spoiler alert, she had the baby.
I did, and I am alive, so that's good.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
like you.
So
Thank you for being here.
thank you.
Hypertension can kill people. It's bad.
It
Sneaks up on you like a hairy ass.
does.
Get your scans. Get your scans.
Grab the scanners.
This is your reminder to get a mammogram and a hippogram.
Yeah, whatever
Is that what they're
you're
called?
comfortable talking about.
It's like the subspecies of hippos, a hippogram.
Whatever you're comfy sharing.
Yeah.
Well, mine was bad, and it's not to scare anyone, but mine was mine was a nightmare. Like,
your
I'm not
fucking
lying.
uterus is rattling your like fallopian tubes going. Woo! Okay.
The
Sorry.
Halloween music.
Yeah,
It's like a thing, because the Halloween.
it was a mash.
I think everyone had that at CD as a kid, the Halloween mix.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You play
absolutely.
it all fucking year because.
Why not? It's basically a religion to me now.
Yes, and
I'm
you have
like,
it.
it was a mash. Let us pray.
So mine was not so great. Pregnancy, awful. I gained so much weight, got so sick. Didn't have gestational diabetes. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. It was great. My blood pressure kept dropping, and they're like, we're not sure what's wrong. You're not quite up. Because I was on the opposite end of, you're not quite fat enough for these problems yet. I'm like, okay,
Right.
but I'm having these problems. What do I do? And they're
You
like,
eat more till you become fat enough for those problems.
that's how I felt about it.
Why didn't you see me when you were pregnant? I could have diagnosed with this. 3 little Debbies every hour until you are fat enough.
Half the time, they're honestly just guessing.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't actually know, because I know whenever I went to have Solar, I was like, I think I was a week overdue, and I still wasn't doing the thing. Like, my body was not cooperating. I was like, okay, when are we going to do it? And they're like, you need to be inducted. I'm like, yep, I'll get a day. So we did that, did the induction process, which is very, nobody tells you it's painful. Nobody says anything to you. They just stick a big metal speculum up you and rip it.
Yeah, they literally stick a
And then-
pike
And they're like, "Are you
between
ready?"
your legs.
Yes, they just go, are you ready? I'm like, are
They-
you ready?
They pop it like it's a balloon, and they just boop, and it's like, oh, okay, that didn't feel so good.
So you
Thank
guys
you
aren't
for
going to
that.
get the deposit back while you're...
No, they straight up like they stick a metal pick up your vagina.
Yeah, and just pull it straight through, and they don't give a fuck.
They don't lick
Yeah.
it like
No.
Yukon Cornelius off of the Rudolph. Do you
No,
remember him
they-
in this
they
pick?
do
Can
it-
he lick
They do
it?
it
Yes.
very quickly and with like little to no regard for you at all.
They-
Oh, I'm sad now. I don't want a baby.
you just don't get induced, and you'll be okay.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
try
like-
to avoid.
You
getting
can induce me if you can catch me.
Yes.
I'm just like
Well,
running.
there's other ways to be induced. Apparently, there's
Yeah.
like a thing called Pitocin, which is like a
it's
I
it's
had
like
that
a chemical shot. Yeah.
Liquid.
I had that as well. I
Yeah,
got-
see, I didn't get the Pitocin.
With Solar?
At least I'm pretty sure I didn't.
Yeah.
They just did the pike thing, and then they were like, okay, so we're just gonna have you lay there and wait.
Nope.
And I'm like, okay.
I had to have both, because it was like, I think I was in labor for 16, 17 hours.
That doesn't sound like labor. That sounds like an eviction.
Yeah.
Like to be.
Some
poked
people are in
and-
labor for a really long time.
How long was your labor?
I think 16, 17 hours.
And you did it in 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mary Lou's like,
No,
she's a
you need
trooper.
to start your own podcast with like tips
No,
and
okay,
tricks.
so like they,
do, like,
they
what's squatting?
induced me at like midnight. She was born at 6 a.m.
That's more than 3 hours.
I didn't start pushing until like 3 a.m.
Oh, so you mean like the actual
So
labor.
I started pushing at like 3 a.m. and they were like, "Oh, well, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. Your uterus hasn't dropped." And I'm like, "Okay, but there's some sort of weird feeling in my body is telling me that if I don't push now, I'm going to explode." And they were like, "Okay, but you're not ready for labor yet." And so I did like one push, and suddenly they're like, "Okay," and they slammed my legs
I
down.
almost
and I'm like,
lost
"What
a
happened?"
nose when that
Sorry.
nose.
But they slammed my legs down because apparently when I pushed, my uterus goes, "Hello," and like the baby was just ready, and they're like, "Oh, the doctor's not here. You're gonna have to wait." And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah,
"I
they're
can't
like
wait. What do you
hella-
mean wait?" And they're like, "That baby has to
Kinda
stay
late.
because he had just left." So I was supposed to somehow magically keep this baby inside my body as my body's trying to evict it until he got back.
You should do what I do. I think of nuns. And are we
No.
talking about nutting or
Like
or
I
nuns?
can't. I wish I could explain the sensation to you because
My
I've never
only
felt it
non-king.
before. My body was just kind of like, whatever this is, it needs to leave, and it needs to leave now, and there was nothing I could do to stop
Well, your
it.
body knows how to do labor. We've been doing it for a few thousand years.
Supposedly,
I think
but
mine forgot.
sometimes,
I forgot how.
sometimes
Like-
the babies just don't want to come out, and they're ready to come out. They just don't want to.
Yeah, you're telling
and
me
your
I have a
body
13-year-old. He's like, no, I live here.
I'm
I'm just like, yeah! Get a job.
Well, no, because like my sister-in-law had a similar issue that she had, where like she was going through a lot of medical problems, and my nephew's like maybe 6 months old now, if that. And she went through a lot of medical issues, and she had to get the emergency C-section because things went south very, very quickly. And I have no idea how long she was in labor for.
She's a petite little thing, too.
She's very tiny.
She's like teeny tiny.
She's teeny tiny.
My mom told me, because like Mary has had now 4 children, so she's a pro. That's my sister. She said, skinny girls, for some reason or another, have the easiest births, but big girls have the longest labors.
That is not necessarily true.
That's not necessarily true, but like mom, she had 5 girls and 1 boy. And she said the easiest labor she had was her last one, where she had like a foreign doctor. Again, this is my racist mom who does not know any other color besides white and not white.
Gotcha.
But she said she had a foreign doctor who told her, whenever you have a contraction, push. Whenever you don't have a contraction, don't push. And mom's like, what, you guys don't want me out of here? And they're like, no, just like do your labor. We'll find the baby. Mom's like, okay. She goes, I had it out in like hours. And like, she goes, Emily, you were the worst. And I'm like, hey, what'd I do? And now there's like a family joke that like I pooped inside of mom while I was on the way out. And I don't like that joke. But
that's possible though.
It is possible.
It's normal.
Yeah,
it's actually very normal.
My sister was born with her lungs encased in her.
Oh no, I didn't breathe it in.
Exchange.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I was being a lady in there. I was just like, don't go back in there. At least
my sister was born with her lungs caked with it.
It's called meconium.
Yep.
The first bit?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Liz. You're so quiet and such a good listener. So what happened when you were giving birth?
I forgot.
Spoiler alert.
Whatever you're comfy talking about, that is.
Okay, so when things go wrong, your blood pressure goes down.
Yeah.
Your heart is going to stop, and the baby was going to pass because the heartbeat was going down. So I had to have an emergency C-section. However, this was hours after I got the epidural, and hours after they give you any pain. And
how long does the epidural last?
It depends on your body.
And I was a previous addict. I'm more resistant to medication.
Me too.
Thank
so
you for sharing.
if you have a high medical resistance, you're lucky if that epidural lasts maybe 2 hours.
Yep.
If that.
And when they pull you into surgery because they think you're dying, you're going to experience and feel things that you won't forget.
You should not be, because you should have been numb for it, and they assume you are, because epidurals, I think, for most
Liz too
people,
damn polite to say I can feel everything,
well,
but please cut me open.
On average, the epidural's supposed to last like 5 to 6 hours for most people.
That's why they wait so long to give it to you.
If you have a medical resistance, or if you're a bigger bodied person and the medicine goes through you faster. Well, yeah, like if the medicine goes through you faster, you're looking at an hour and a half,
you're always like,
maybe 2 hours, and you go from, I can deal with this pain to suddenly I feel all the things and I am not okay. And they're like, no, you're fine. You're being a baby about it. And it's like, no, I feel all the things.
I'm having a baby. I'm not a baby.
No, you're not. You're numb still. And it's like, but I assure you I am not.
No, and the problem is that,
And once you've actually officially started labor, they're not allowed to give you another shot.
Yeah, I don't.
I think it's sneak up behind me with a 2x4.
No, like they're not. It's some sort of protocol or something. Like they can give you like a numbing cream or whatever, but they can't
count
give you another
to 3,
epidural.
but do it on 2. That's what I want.
At least that's what my doctor told me, because I tried asking for a second epidural, and he told me that since I was in active labor, they could not give me another shot.
Well, that epidural does affect the baby.
Supposedly.
Well, I don't know. I've never talked to one.
But yeah, me either. So, I mean, I wouldn't know because I've never looked into the actual, research on it.
It's supposed to make them sleepy and less active, which makes sense.
Yeah, because their initial reaction when the baby comes out is like, hey, does it make noise? And they'll, pinch its little feet and smack its ass, and they're like, scream! And
my doctor does that to me every time I see him. They smack my ass when I scream.
Like, the kid, especially with mine, I don't know what they did with Solaire, but, my daughter came out, and they immediately start, poking and prodding at the soles of her feet to get her to scream. So she starts screaming, and they're like, oh, okay, good.
Like that.
Good.
Yeah,
she reacts. She's responsive. And then they, they let me have, skin-to-skin contact. Turned around and charged me $300 for that, mind you, to hold my own child seconds after being born. Shit you not. And then they were like, okay, that's enough of that, and I barely got to hold her for, not even a minute. And they were like, okay, now we gotta go wash her off and, inject her with all this shit. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, she's yellow. And I'm like, no, she's not. And they're like, she's a little jaundiced. We're just going to put her under this jaundice lamp. And I'm like, okay.
Her father is Homer Simpson.
And I'm like, I
Bring
can't
back my
hold
child.
or feed my baby. And they're like,
No.
you'll get to later. And I'm like, what?
Mary,
All right.
you have your whole life to be a mom.
Well, apparently,
Let
that's
the
how
doctor
they feel.
hold it.
I shit you not, though. The minute that baby comes out of their body, comes out of your body,
As soon as the doctor gives birth to your baby.
the minute that baby comes out of your body, those doctors do not give a flying fuck about you.
Yes,
No,
correct.
You
as
They
long
do
as
leave.
not
yeah.
matter. You are nothing but a vessel for a new life, and then you are trash.
So
Yes.
exactly how you guys got pregnant is how you end pregnancy?
Pretty much,
Yes.
yeah. You're just
They
a
don't even
husk.
hand you like a towel to wipe off.
No!
Just like,
They do not give a fuck
doctor
about
leans
you.
in. That was good for me. Did you come? No? Here's a towel. I'm
But
gonna poke the baby now.
I don't know if other people have had better experiences, but in most experiences that I have heard from other people, that I have had myself, you are literally just a vessel for the new life. And once that kid is like no longer small and cute and moldable into the society standards, they don't give a shit about you. You're just a vessel for another life. You
Guys,
gotta make another
I-
cog for the working force. And
I
it's
know
like,
this is
but
supposed
I
to be
don't want
enlightening,
to.
but I'm actually terrified now.
I'm
I
sorry.
might not ever have sex again.
It's not
Well, you know,
really
with other
scary.
people.
It's just
Also
like
do it.
you want to go into it with the reality of things could go south, things could not. You hope for the best because of course you do. You want things to go well,
And
but
As
you
long
want
as
to
I
be
don't
like
give birth to a goth, I'll be okay.
you want to be like vaguely aware of
Oh,
the potential
this
side
is like
effects.
I've never benefited by anything like this.
just to be aware of what can happen, not will
Yeah,
happen.
that way
'Cause,
it doesn't
like,
take you by storm and like sideswipe you like a semi truck. Because then you're like, how did this happen? And it's like, no, this is common. It's okay. Like
Yeah.
it sucks, but it's okay.
like my experience is way different than my mother's. My mom had like 4 children and completely fine, no complications. But for me, complicated, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also like a 1 in 100,000 chance.
Complicated. I'm
See,
sorry,
that's the thing.
I'm not a savior.
Liz Fair, right?
No, Ever Levine.
Damn, I'm off.
Well, right.
Liz Fair?
And that's the
I-
thing
I
is
love
you'll
Liz Fair.
get people who are like, oh yeah, I was in labor for like 20 hours, but then minus the 20 hours, they had 0 complications.
My
Yes.
Like they
grandma-
had a perfectly normal birth. And I'm like, oh, good on you, but how did you survive 20 fucking
They
hours
still
of that?
have this practice in Britain where you get the gas. They'll give it to you in a tube and you get to like give it to yourself. My grandma was still doing that. She gave birth in the States. But my grandma got that gas, the same gas that knocks you out for teeth surgery.
The
And
laughing gas, if you
while
will.
she was giving birth to my mom, my grandma had 7 children, I think. I don't know. But like she had a lot of children because, you know, nothing good was on TV. And she did the gas and she woke up and she goes, did I have it yet? And that's why they stopped the gas, is because women stopped pushing. Which, don't blame them. I mean, if I was fucking faking
Yeah.
pregnancy just to get to the gas and get a good nap. Did you have solar?
Oh yeah, yeah. We
No,
were.
I decided to keep it in.
Yeah.
Just
I kept it. I needed it. Sustenance.
sustenance. You're like, I'm gonna absorb it.
Or reabsorb it.
No.
It's a cycle of life.
But no, we ended up alive, and I didn't get to hold her or anything. Because they had a mishap in the middle of surgery and had to put me back to
So
sleep.
she was a C-section?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Totally C-section. The anesthesiologist put me to sleep at first, and then I woke up, and you were strapped down to the bed. Just FYI. And
Well,
then
like the crucifix, right? Because like they have like an arm thing for you.
Well,
No.
did,
Worse?
it's like a
did
it's a
they
horror
have
movie.
the courtesy curtain, or did you see everything?
You saw
They
everything.
didn't even give you the courtesy
Well,
curtain?
because they thought I was going to stay asleep. That was the issue. Yeah, I'm one of those
Shoot.
lucky women who are like,
That's
wake
why you're
up.
gothic.
Well,
'Cause
no.
you saw-
Okay.
You
Have you-
saw God.
Have you ever seen what happens with C-sections?
Yes, it's terrifying. It's like
Yeah,
9
so
layers.
they're
of...
supposed to give you a courtesy curtain so that if you wake up or if you are awake,
They'll just
you
let the
don't
baby above
see
it.
your own insides because that can be a little jarring for most people. You just see this curtain and you're like, I don't know what's happening because I'm supposed to be very, very numb and
And I'm an ignorant woman.
But so imagine being awake, aware, feeling it, and they're just zip, 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 and they're taking a baby out, and you're like, those are my stomach's insides. Those are supposed
Did
to
you
stay in
see
there.
the
Please stop
stretcher?
that. And they're just like, oh,
did you have the stretcher for your uterus?
Stretcher?
uterus?
This
stretcher?
is terrifying.
No, I've only
My-
had
My sister is married to obviously her husband, but he had previous children, so that's why she's a grandma. She's
Oh, okay.
way too young to be a grandma. Well, this girl's petite as hell.
Mm.
Perfect body. but when she gave birth to her baby, they had like a uterine stretcher to keep her uterus open, and it looked like a bowl of fucking raw ass red chili, and her baby just like popped out of it. And I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at Amber, and like she has literally the top, just enough skin to cover her bones. That's it. There's like
really thin.
And no offense to Amber, if she's listening to this, she has a rocking body. I'm just saying, torso wise, it was just the baby and her ribs. And she showed us a picture of her being opened up, and I'm just like a bowl of raw fucking chili. And I'm like, then I picture my own belly, and I'm like, oh no, where would it go? You know what I mean? Like, because I got big bell.
And they've changed how they've done C-sections too, because like in the 90s, they would actually remove your entire stomach and sit it next to you.
Well, that's
to
the
get
practice
to the baby.
at the time.
So they've changed how they've done C-sections over the years, because my dad tells me, because he remembers vividly, my mom had 2 different C-sections. She said the one that's gone left to right, and then the one that went up to down.
Yeah, the cross.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it.
I don't either.
The zipper.
So, they
Like
did
the
the
zipper
left
better.
to right with my sister, who unfortunately was lost at birth. But they did the left to right because it was an emergency thing. But apparently they removed her entire stomach and sat it down on the bed next to her. Of course, she didn't see any of this. She was very numb. She had like the courtesy curtain. So she was like out of it, but my dad saw it. So he's like, I watched them remove your mother's stomach from her body and sit it next to her, and everything's still attached, and then they just scoop a baby up out of there, and then they just gently put everything back and stitch her up. And I'm like, I'm sorry, they what? And he goes, they picked up her stomach and set it down next to her, and then they picked up the baby and they put the stomach back.
You sure her nose didn't line up red if they touch the edges? Like,
and I'm over here like, I'm so glad that we have found better ways to go about this, even though it's still equally not great, because like at least we aren't putting people's organs next to them. It's standard to do left to right. They almost never do up to down anymore.
Hiding
bikini. Well, they were like freaking out, and it would come in and
Yeah,
no,
they almost never do the up to down anymore unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
I have a patchwork quilt under this, so I don't really care as long as I don't fuck up like my tattoos.
Oh, it'll be like under here.
Yeah, I know.
It's typically like under your belly button. So
I
it's
have
like
a dun belt syndrome. Have you guys heard of those?
No.
It's where your belly done in your belt. And so, like, if they went to give me a sheet, I'm not kidding. And then they went, like, and that's so weird. Like, my mom,
what?
Done in your belt means that your belly's above your pubic area.
Oh.
Which, I mean, I'm fine, comfortable with it, because I see more and more women, especially, having that body type.
Yep.
But, like, if we could get away from birthing, because you guys already scared me the hell out of here.
Sorry.
And I'm not, no joke, I had sex like all night last night and something this morning, and now I'm like terrified. I feel like going upstairs and jumping up and down or something.
No, it's just fine.
You're gonna be good.
Fucking terrified.
Like there are horror stories, but there's also really good stories. It's just like be aware of the potential.
Yeah, like I've
That's
had
all.
several friends who've done wonderful.
I loved ignorance, and now I know too much.
I told my friends my birthing story, and they were both so terrified that one of my friends got fixed.
Yeah, I'm almost there, but I'm going to.
And what's funny is I had no complications. They were just like, I'm sorry, they did what? And I'm like, yeah, they just yoinked it out of there.
Yep.
And they're like, no, I'm gonna go get my tubes yoinked. I'm out. And I'm like, all right.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. But obesity wise, right?
Yeah.
So I have my mom's legs, and my mom has a rocking body. Like, she looks like Esmeralda from. I'm not kidding.
Nice.
She's a petite brown woman with big, long flowing hair, and then she married someone who looked like Danny DeVito. And so she made gorgeous children. Like, my mom had 6 kids. Yeah, you've seen most of my siblings.
Yeah.
They're all gorgeous in their own ways. All legs.
Speaking of you.
And I just like leave. I came for the compliments. But so then there's me, where I have my dad's curly hair, which my mom says is the devil's curly hair, so that makes sense. But then I'm pale like my father. There's no brown in me. In fact, I can't even find a foundation that matches me. So like I even like get like the Asian.
You're
stuff,
like white.
Oh yeah.
My friend
told me before that if I had a baby with albino, it would come out see through. So like they would have to like put baby powder at the floor.
It's like it's rice paper with organs.
Yeah.
Give it some lotion.
Yeah, that's right.
Roll it
That's right. Let's paint this baby. Let's butter it. It's great.
Let's give birth to an egg roll. We gotta get some.
I look a boy. No, that's a girl. No, just like double checking because you gotta paint it. But either way, so like I'm really pale. If they had a foundation that was called raw pork. That's my skin tone. But they don't have foundation called raw pork.
They do have a thing called like porcelain, I think.
Yeah, no. I'm on. I can send you guys a picture, but it's like delicate porcelain. So it's like even more porcelain than porcelain. I'm sorry. Whenever I get nervous, I start doing like small circles in my leg. I love it. I'm not nervous. You can't fix me. You're looking around for a tool, and there's nothing here. Liz is such a fixer-upper. Bob Builder here. I'm like, hey, I'm having anxiety, and Liz is like, oh, I'll find something.
I will help you.
She needs more blankets.
Nature versus nurture thing.
It absolutely is. But like with my obesity, it's all in my belly. I don't even have big boobs, and that makes no fucking sense to me. Because no offense to any of you guys,
Yeah, you do.
we both have mommy milkers. Like those are huge. You guys can absolutely hide a 4-pack of pop to the movie theaters. I'm jealous of that.
I can put a whole CD.
I have nothing for boobs. I have like I'm huge belly wise, but my boobs are like a double D when I'm fat, and I've lost like 30. Well, I mean more fat, because now I've lost like 30 pounds. I kept it off, but now my boobs are at not a double D anymore. They're at a D.
That's still
and they're getting
big.
smaller.
What
They're
are you
still getting
talking about?
smaller. Like your boobs should be the last thing that should go.
They claim that as you're losing weight, that's actually the first thing to slim up.
Well, why not my back boobs?
I
Why
don't
the
know.
front ones?
I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
just like
It makes no sense.
with women, apparently if women are trying to lose weight, there's 3 things that are statistically accurate. It's harder for women to lose weight and keep it off. And when you lose weight, it's most obvious in your face because your face slims
No, I
up
double
and then
chin.
your chest gets smaller. But nothing
I am
else
losing that.
seems to get
Yeah,
any
so you
smaller.
can tell, like you were.
You knew
And
me
that's
when I
about
was
it.
fatter. You knew me when I was fatter.
Where?
My double. Oh, shut your mouth. Where?
Where?
You know I'm married. Wait till now to flirt. But yeah, I used to have like a big double chin. And I hated it too because like whenever I looked down, my double chin would touch my chest beforehand, and I'm like
Oh, my
fuck,
friends
I'm
called
fat.
it the thumb head, where you just like.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine having sex with me. I mean, like whenever I look at myself and I'm feeling myself in the mirror, I'm like, oh yeah, I fucked me so hard. Like, she's better be glad that I'm not getting her. She can rest easy. And then when I'm laying down, I'll try to take a picture, and I'm like, oh god, who the hell does me? I look at me and I'll be like, dude, can you breathe? Like, are you okay? But either way, so being fat, the thing that doesn't make sense to my mom, because I'm the only one that's obese. Amanda had a weight problem and Carrie had a weight problem, but both of them have cured their weight problems. They have figured it out. That's the thing. It's always an equation of how to keep your weight off. That's the deal. But they were never obese. I've been obese. And my mom said she thinks I was never meant to be obese because of the size of my hands. Let me
I
see
got
my
small fat hands.
but I have small petite hands.
She has the tiniest little inky bitty.
Mom made fun of that hamburger commercial where he had like tiny hands so he couldn't eat the Whopper, and he goes, will you hold the Whopper for me? Why? Because I have these tiny hands. But like, Mom said, Emily, that's your father. That's your real father, is what she would tell me. And I'm like, shut up. I can eat a Whopper. Cried and ate a Whopper. Like, my hands are big enough for all this meat. I'm eating it, and I'm like, pretty good actually. Well, that's not the story. But the story is that like, because of the genetic Frankenstein that my mom and my dad made, I have an amazing ass. Not anymore because I sit on it for so long, so it's kind of flat. Imagine Hank Hill if he had some thickness in it. And I have great legs, and my arms are good up until the elbow, and then the rest of me is just like ballooned fat. So it's like it's not even like evenly distributed fat. And Mom says that's why I think that you were never meant to be fat, Emily. You don't have the dump truck ass. You don't have thick thighs.
See,
you don't have big tits.
That's not always how
It's
it works,
all
though. Like, I
built.
have been chunky my entire life. It's just that I got bigger with proportions as I got older.
Well, there's also another theory. So probably feeds into my genetic thing,
Go
or
ahead.
like my gender thing, because I have PCOS, so I did not go through puberty the natural way. So naturally, when you go through puberty, it's very slow, where your body's like, this hormone tastes pretty good. I might have a little bit more. And then it hits you really fucking hard, right? Your voice changes, you start growing hair in places, start liking girls.
Or what have you.
Usually goth girls first is the first one. So that's a low-hanging fruit. But like, but you know what I mean? Like, then it's there for the rest of your life. But with PCOS, because I don't make enough hormones, well, specifically the female hormone, I went through puberty at 12, had one period, didn't see it again until I was 15. And I was convinced I was pregnant, even though I wasn't sexually active with a boy. And I was like, how do I break this to my mom? Like, I was just like, how do I tell my mom I'm a virgin and I'm pregnant? You know, but we were like backwoods hicks, so we did not know anything about fertility. People would share soap and end up pregnant. So like it wasn't like no one was infertile in our family, and here I am infertile. But it's a temporary infertile situation because I do get periods every now and again, but the last one I had lasted for 1 hour. That sounds so weird, but like I spotted, and my infertility coach told me that counts as a period because it just means that for at least for one moment your hormones were working. But this is also a PSA. If anybody is spotting for every day for more than a month, please go to your gynecologist. I did not know that was a sign of cancer. So I spotted for a whole year, and they found precancerous cells in my uterine lining. It was a whole thing. But I still have my uterus, still got my eggs, and I'm just trying to like jumpstart my hormones, so that's the whole deal. But that also affects, like, your hormones are fucking everything. Like, as soon as you're no longer a kid, it affects your mood, affects your sex life, affects how you feel about your body, everything. But that explains so much. Like, this is oversharing. Absolutely. If you made it this far into the podcast, you must be one of us three.
Yeah.
I don't have coloration in my nipples because I didn't go through puberty, right?
That's so weird.
And you know how pale I am.
Yeah.
My nipples are like the slightest bit darker than my skin, almost like a child's nipples, because I don't have hormones. Most women, they have regular colored nipples, you know, it's like that rosy color. Then they get pregnant and they have their babies and they'll darken.
It's the color as your lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Usually.
Not these lips.
Well, usually.
Yeah, I know.
Usually.
Yeah, which is weird because it's also like supposed to be your perfect lip color is your nipple color.
Pretty
and
much.
I'm just like, I'm not gonna whip that out.
Supposedly, it's also the
match
color
this.
of your, supposedly it's also the color of your anus, but I mean, I ain't got time
Hey,
to look
no,
at
you're
that.
scared of that. I'll
No,
tell you what color your
I
anus
don't.
is.
No, thank
Come
you.
here.
No,
Come on.
No.
What? Now I'm gay because I want to see your anus. I'm just trying to help you out, kid. Don't you want to find your right lipstick?
Come here, show me your ass.
Yeah,
Like,
just
no,
the
thank you.
anus. I'm not even asking for the whole thing. Just
No, I'm good.
well, wait till after we're done recording and see if you're still good. And you hear zip. But yeah, that's the whole deal. And what's really weird is that like I've had previous sexual partners where I told them like, don't be weirded out, but I don't have periods very often. And they're like, I'm weirded out. And I'm like, I warned you. And then they're like, so like every month I had to take a pregnancy test just to ensure that I wasn't pregnant. Because obviously if you're sexually active, there is a huge chance you might be pregnant. And I'm like, watch, I'm going to end up like... So I broke up with my long-term boyfriend, like 4 years old. 4 years old. That's not right. 4-year relationship. He wasn't a 4-year-old. And I'm like, you know what? This is the last tantrum. I'm done, Todd. I'm done. And I'm keeping this box set while I'm walking out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bring your mom in this. I'm sorry. Pedophilia is not funny. But, either way, it was like a 4-year relationship. And then I was like, you know what's so funny? Is that, like, eventually I will have sex with someone again. And watch that be the moment when I get pregnant. And I'm like, if there's a God, he hates me. So, he will absolutely do that. And I'm like, first time that I had sex, I wasn't protected. And now he's my husband.
Oh,
But, like, I'm like, oh, fuck. If there's a God, he hates me. He's gonna do this. And then I was just like, we weren't safe. And I'm like, it was so fucked up. Because, like, I even went home and my mom asked me, she goes, how was your weekend? And I'm like, I had sex with Ricky. And she goes, oh, does Richard know? Because he's called Ricky by his parents. And I said, yeah, Mom, Richard was there. She goes, shut up. And then she goes, did you guys use protection? I was like, well, I had a helmet and knee pads, and she punched me. She's like, shut up. But, yeah, it was, obviously I didn't get pregnant. But, like, what we're told by our OBs is that, like, if you don't get pregnant within a year of unprotected sex, you're supposed to go for an infertility thing, and that's how this whole thing happened. So, Mary Lou, working with me for 3 years, not being my friend, heard the entire thing. Every time I clocked in, Mary Lou was like, oh god, this train wreck. And there's one time, I'm not kidding, me and Richard got in a fight, and I was on the floor of our desk, crying my eyes out.
A panic attack.
Crying
just, like,
my
sneaking
eyes
her
out.
tissues and
And
like,
it was
trying
such a
to make sure
stupid fight.
customers never found
It was
out.
so stupid, but customers had to come to our desk, and someone was tall enough to see me crying, going, and he goes, "She okay?" And Mary Lou goes, "She just needs a moment. She'll be fine." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna be fine."
I was just trying to get him to go away.
Feeding me fucking tissues, and customers were really uncomfortable. No one wants to come to you when you're crying. Which is a great way to get out of anything, really.
That's what I was thinking, is like, get out of, having to deal with
jail
people.
free card.
Yeah.
You murder somebody, but now she's crying. What do we do, Chief? Just let her go. Just let her go. She's doing her own thing. But yeah, I'd constantly cry to Mary Lou, but like, I had to go through so much shit, and it wore me the hell out. Because with the pre-cancer, they were trying to give me a Mirena, which goes up in you, but there is a horror story about a woman who found one in her rib cage, and then I got in a fight, like physical almost argument, fight, with people saying your uterus doesn't work that way. I was like, you don't know how your uterus works. Because your uterus stretches, it evolves, and your fallopian tubes aren't even attached to your eggs' ovaries. They're not attached. It's just supposed to
No, they just kind of feel around its space and go.
So, and you're telling me there's no way in hell a Mirena? No, shut up. You know what I mean? And so I said no to the Mirena. Because you're not even under anesthesia when they do that.
No, and it's very painful. They just don't say it's painful.
Like that. Also, your uterus is not constantly open. It's only open during periods and labor.
Yeah, and otherwise it's supposed to be closed off by the cervix.
Yeah, and that's why you get the mucus plug, especially to ensure that it's closed, so that way the baby doesn't get any. We're not talking about your labor anymore. Your labor scares me.
I'm saying I have no idea what the hell a mucus plug is or what it looks like or anything.
Oh, God, please.
Because I just went, that was it. That's
just
all I know.
Just the noise of it. When you hear the word mucus and plug, you're just like, God, I shouldn't know about it. And imagine the first doctor, and you're like, what should we call it? Like the cork? That's not a professional. Let's call it a mucus plug.
Dale, shut up. I've seen someone's water break, like, in real time, and it was surreal to me because they were just standing there, and I look over, and I'm like, oh, hey, are you good? Because she was, like, hyper pregnant. And she looks down.
Hyper pregnant?
She's very pregnant. Like,
she's bouncing off the wall.
But no, I look over and there was like a little water puddle, and I was trying to like discreetly be like, oh, hey, did you, like have an accident? Are you okay? And she looks down and she goes, oh, I must have,
yeah. And
then she looks down for a whole minute and she goes, I have to go. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, I think the baby's coming.
Oh, God.
And just this weird, like, distant, detached, like, she wasn't in her own body in that moment.
Well, because you wait 9 months for this moment.
Oh. I'm like, are you
done?
good? And she was like, I feel like I peed myself.
I would have grabbed her by the neck and rubbed her nose in and said, we do not do that inside.
No.
Liz laughed. So it's okay. But I had to take, after I told him, no, I will not do the Mirena, which, by the way, is $2,000 for the Mirena. And they said, you have to pay for it, or you have to do certain paperwork to get your insurance to pay for it, because I have government insurance. And I'm like, how much is this in case I have to pay for it? She goes, oh, it's $2,000. And I'm like, oh, just $2,000? Really? For like 1 year of being infertile? Which, by the way, I came to you to get pregnant, so it makes no fucking sense that you give me birth control for it. But they're like, but aren't you worried about losing your uterus? And I'm like, isn't everybody? If it wasn't attached to me, I wouldn't have it with me. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But either way, so I said no. And she goes, okay, well, then we'll give you the pill. Why wasn't the pill my first option?
Yeah,
I was literally going to a fertility specialist, and then she sent me to an oncologist, not telling me what it was. I thought it was another fertility specialist. I'm sitting around a bunch of 100-year-old people, and I'm like, Richard, I don't think these people are trying to get pregnant. And he goes, well, we don't know. We don't know their story. And I ran into somebody I went to high school with, and she gave me, like, my blood test, which obviously she has HIPAA, but she also gets to know my chart. So she sees I'm going through infertility, and she was the first one to know that I had severe precancer cells. And she couldn't tell me because of HIPAA, and she's just the phlebotomist, so she gave me the blood or whatever. But after taking the pill, that's where I developed this tic where I'm constantly grooming myself in my hair. And Mary Lou can tell you that I have scabs all over because I pick at it. And it all started because I took that medication for like a year, which was like permanently shedding constantly my uterine lining, hoping to flush out those cells. And I lost my hair, right here in the patch, like male pattern baldness. And it was, she can tell you, it was really thin. And every day that I go to work, I tell her, did I cover it? Do you remember?
You did.
Because I was this close to like using like a marker.
The only reason why I knew where to look is because you had told me. Otherwise, it was not noticeable. I assure you it was not.
I appreciate that. Because I was going through a lot. Like, So I was working 40 hours weeks, and I wasn't having sex anymore because sex wasn't sex. It was science. And, like...
Calculated. Not
Yeah,
fun.
it ruined all the romance. I mean, obviously, we're back in it. As soon as we decided we're no longer trying...
You're just gonna do it for the sake of doing it.
Oh, yeah. And, like, this is, like, our romantic story, and I hope, like, Richard is like Hank Hill. He hates sharing anything about himself. If you tell him that there's a TV in every room, he's like, why'd you tell him that? And I'm like, it's not that personal. He's like, they don't even know anything about a marriage.
People are gonna rob us.
Yeah.
They're gonna know I have more than one TV.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess you guys can't come back over to my house
My milkshakes.
anymore. My milkshakes. But, so Richard, right? We were only married for a year, and so we were together for a year, married for a year, so that's only 2 years. I haven't even owned underwear that lasted that long sometimes, you know what I mean? And I told him when they found out that I had precancerous cells, they said, this is serious. You are looking at losing your uterus at the age of 24. And Richard wanted more kids, so I sat him down and I said, listen, I love you. And I know you love me too, because we got married. And even though I'm that anxious girlfriend is always like, you still love me? And he goes, Emily, we're married. Like, what more do I have to do? But, like, I told him, I was like, we can leave this marriage with exactly what we came with. You can fall in love again. It happens. I don't truly believe in soulmates. I believe in people that click with you. And yet, no one's perfect. And that says a lot, because I'm here. But, like, I'm a proof there's a God! But, like, see, that's my confidence. It's always, like, a roller coaster where I'm like, I'm shit. And then I'm like, I am the shit. But, like, so Richard, I told him that. I said, look, we'll just leave it exactly what we came with. I won't fight you for anything. You can have it all. And I said, and I'm totally fine with this. I'm not going to cry. You're not going to cry. You go get your children. I don't know what's going to happen to me. For all I know, people die from cancer. People die from cancer treatments. People, like, kill themselves because they're no longer fertile. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on. And Richard goes, no. Whatever happens, I'm going to stay with you with this. We are going to figure this out. That's what I said, Liz. And I cried right there in the hospital. Like, I cried. And Richard goes, no matter what, Emily, I love you. And I was like, but this could be your only chance to have an extra child. He goes, I know, but I have you. And I'm like, okay. So then we went through that. Took 3 fucking years of infertility, the pill, losing my hair, losing my mind. My depression got worse. I mean, like, everything got worse. And eventually, I had a breakdown. And it finally happened when I quit Walmart. And then I went to temp job after temp job, which are fucking amazing, by the way, especially if you have anxiety. Because if you have a temp job, you don't work for that company. You work for the temp job.
There's no expectation.
Absolutely none. They're just glad that you showed up. So there was one time that it was like candlelight, which okay, so like I'm totally, I want to smell it. But, okay, about my mental, where I just like, I was really close to unaliving myself, which wasn't too long ago either. But, like, it scared Richard to the point that, like, he also had a job, but we didn't really talk about it. He did, like, the DoorDash kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and it brought in some money. I mean, like, you can make some money in there if you are smart and you stick around to you absolutely can smoke, go ahead. But and you stick around to the risk that you want, everything's cool. But he did that while I was at Walmart, so we were trying to catch up on bills and stuff. But I worked at Wingate, and, they were going easy on me for the first week, and I'm like, dude, this is worth it for $14 an hour. Absolutely. All I had to do was fold paper that goes into a machine. So many times, though, that I hurt my thumbs permanently. Because you had to fold like 80 paper boxes, like this type of paper boxes that you get on like a cake mix, or a paper box that like you get on hair dye. That's what that company did. And they were going easy on me for the first week because I fell in love with it. And then the next week, they're like, nope, we got up production. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, are we going to, like, have overtime? Oh, no, we're not doing overtime this week. So everybody is going to do more work for the same amount of money. Okay, I can do that. I know how, like, things go, right? Could not keep up with the machine. It kept, like, choking on the stuff I was feeding it because it wasn't bent well. Because I couldn't bend. I could scarcely bend 80 papers at a time. They were wanting me to bend 120 at a time, and I couldn't do it. But look at my tiny hands. I'm basically disabled. It was unfair.
You have delicate hands. You need more.
I need bigger hands. But like, so then I decided that Wingate wasn't going to work for me. And I'm like, oh man. I tried Candlelight, which as atheist as I am, there's truly a hell because I worked at Candlelight, and I mean it was the worst thing ever. And I had like the rudest manager.
Candles like smell awful.
Oh yeah, and like I could not catch up. I had a 75-year-old black woman. She was sweet as pie, dude. And she's like, "Oh, it's Kendall, honey, I got you." And she went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, she's not gonna be here long, and there ain't no way in hell if she's 75 now, she's gonna be here on this planet with me to keep up with my slack. There's no way. And I was making $16 an hour there. And overtime was time and a half. That's
Great.
That's suck my dick money. You know what I mean? And I made it to 1 week, and I said, I'm not coming back. And I had this guy, he was just a young kid. He was like 18. His name was Javid. And I only know that because of Bob's Burgers, because there's a character named Javid, and they couldn't pronounce his name. And he goes, "It's so cool to me that you know my name." And I'm like, yeah, so cool. Has nothing to do with the TV show at all. Javid. And I told him, I said, "This is my last lunch with you." And he goes, "Why? What's going on?" I said, "I'm not coming back." And he goes, "Don't leave! You're the only friend I have." And I said, "I'm telling you, Javid, I have a family outside of this wall, and I'm going to live." So I quit, and they gave me an exit interview. Because now, you know, like, if you quit an actual job, 2 weeks notice.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a nice way of them saying, we're going to fire you within that 2 weeks if you don't leave.
It's them being like, "Hey, we need 2 weeks to replace you."
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
But when I found out I was in the temp service, I could just fucking leave, and they'll give me a next job next day.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, no, I'm going to leave. And I was doing a half-ass job packaging the candles. So there's going to be a lot of middle-aged white women with some candles that don't look too pretty. Because I'm just like, yeah, it's a candle. This is a box. That was
Nice.
1 minute. But, like, they brought down a big wig from headquarters and came down to me and says, "So why do you feel like quitting? Can we talk about that?" I said, "Absolutely." And I'm still, like, wrapping my boxes. I'm like, this place is hell. I can't breathe. All my stuff smells like shit because the fragrance, and not only that, where does wax go when you burn it? A lot of people don't know this
It
answer.
just evaporates.
It evaporates to the air, so it needs a place to land. Where does wax land? All surfaces. In your clothes. They told me, the people that I worked with that have been working there for years, which I don't know, you can tell me that there are soulless people out there. There's no way in hell that you make it more than a month. It was middle of winter. They had the factory doors for the trucks open, and we were still busting ass and swamp ass, everything. And there's a candle that you had to, like, put, like, little PVC pipes in the factory part for the candle to hold before it got, like, the juice in it.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, if that's hard to explain. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to put a bunch of these PVC pipes on my arm so that way I can go boo, 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 and I'll be good. They switched you every 30 minutes so you didn't get, like, tired or hurt in an area. And I'm like, this is the best part. I did it. And I did not know the PVC pipes were covered in fiberglass. So the whole day I'm going, scratching my arms. And I'm like, I'm in hell! I am in hell! What did I do? I mean, what specifically did I do? And they're like, oh my god, you put the PVC pipes on your arms. And I'm like, how'd you know? And they're like, I saw you, but I couldn't say anything because we were across the room. And I'm like, oh no, you wanted to warn me and you didn't. And I cried while I was doing candles. By the way, I had to tell them, I was like, look, your place sucks. It's not worth the money. And they're like, that's fair. We get that all the time. Go back to the temp agency. So you didn't like Candlelight? I said, no, nobody likes Candlelight. Ask anybody. I swear to God, I'll never use a fucking candle another day in my life. I still do. But it took years for me to get over that trauma. But, like, that was it. And they're like, oh, okay, so we'll get you a new job. But I tried Wingate. And they're like, this is the easiest job that we have available. Paper company.
All right.
Tried it. They up production. I said, that's it. I can't do it. I really can't. I'm still recovering because, like, after you take the pill for, like, the cancer thing, it takes you 2 years just to recover fully to where my hair has grown back. I got good hair. I know, all right? I was like, man, fuck a baby. I'm going to have to start buying wigs. Yes, that's more expensive than a baby. And my hair grew back, started enjoying making love instead for having sex, started enjoying other stuff, but my depression was so fucking heavy that I could not work. So I had a mental breakdown. And I'll never forget, I was in I had no makeup on. That'll tell you right then and there too. That hurt me. I had no makeup on. I was eating fucking banquet meal turkey dinners every meal. So I was eating garbage. And had to wear a hairnet, no earrings, no metal, no nothing. And you have to wash your hands, obviously, after you're done with the bathroom. And then you have to wash your hands when you're on the floor. So my hands were cracked. I felt like a reptilian.
Oh, you were
and
working with paper.
Yeah, it was the worst thing ever. And I also, like, there's a special soap that they use because we work with paper boxes for, like, people that are in the medical field. Like,
Yeah, and they have to be, like,
they have to be
antimicrobial
sterile
and
as
stuff.
hell.
Yes.
If you get a paper cut, the entire row is thrown away.
Yep.
Garbage. Because it's not worth it.
Yeah, because
And-
you can't sell
yeah.
them.
So I was in my little hairnet, and I was crying. I'm the type of crier where my big lips get bigger, and my nose gets super shiny. My eyes are so small because they keep getting puffier. And Richard had to pick me up, and he just did a DoorDash order, and I was just like, I can't do it. I can't. I'm really not. Richard, I'm having a breakdown. I said, this is it. I haven't had a breakdown like this in years. He'd never seen me have a breakdown. So that will tell you right then and there, like, would he stay or would he go? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I'm moving back in with my mom's. I don't care. We're losing the apartment because I won't be able to pay the bills anymore. And he goes, no, we're not doing this. I'm not losing you. I'm not losing our family. Because there's a lot of marriages that would fail if I was moving in with my mom and we were still married, right?
Yes.
So he started getting jobs and he started being the supporter. And, like, I felt guilty all the time. And that feeds into my depression. Because Richard has sciatica. And he's a bigger guy, too. So, like, doing a regular job, but, like, with a fat suit on top of you is so much more harder. And he come home, and he's like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, I'm so depressed. I didn't make a meal. I didn't clean your clothes. Nothing. I felt like shit as a wife, as a partner, as anybody. And now I finally took a few more years of that. So now he has a really good job. Pays all of our bills. We are caught up on bills. Basically, there's only like one more, but it's like in a few more payments. It's like it's achievable. We have achievable dreams.
Manageable bills.
Yeah, manageable bills. And he likes his job enough to where he even gets 3 days off. And he made more money than I did working in hell. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is perfect. And I'm like, this is the time. We can finally have a baby. I'll work on my depression. I'll start losing weight. And I'll be the vessel for our child. This is it. And I'm so excited about it. So, like, at least there's kind of like a happy ending to this sad story about Emily having a breakdown.
Silver lining, man.
Yeah, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And even, like, when I told my family that, like, because going through my depression stuff, and you start unboxing weird boxes from depression moving. It's almost like when you move to a new house and you never open up the box.
It pops up, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, so maybe I am gender fluid or whatever. And Richard goes, will you change your name? I said, no, I've always been Emily. Because it's been 30 years. I think I'm kind of accustomed to it. Even if they rehomed me, it would have to end with a Y, my name. Like Trixie or Mixie or something like that. But, like, then he said, are you going to have a penis? Because it's achievable. You can have a penis now.
That's
and
right.
I'm like,
yeah.
I would love one if they were growing on trees, but because of the medical field, that would have to change my genitalia so much, and it's irreversible. No, I won't have a penis. And he goes, okay, I can deal with this. And I said, you can't. He goes, absolutely not. He's like, so you're saying that, like, nothing will change? I said, no, because I'm telling you that this has been me the whole time.
Yep.
And you fell in love with me no matter what. So even though he's a straight Christian man with moral values, he married what he thought was a Christian woman with moral values, and now it's just, I'm gender fluid now. I don't believe in God. I won't work. And he won't leave me, so I know he loves me.
Oh.
Yeah. And I gave it many tries. I mean, even, like, as friends, like, with hanging out with you guys, I let you guys know all the time that you guys can go, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Because I love you. And I want you guys to be good. That being said, I henpecked Mary Lou into loving me. So, thanks for letting me get that off my chest.
Yeah,
Felt like
it's very
therapy.
sweet.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's wonderful to hear.
It is, yeah.
I'm excited.
I mean, I know Richard's probably going to listen to this, so I love you. And I really do. I love him. He definitely hypes me up. And I appreciate that.
Fair.
I do desire one thing.
Yeah.
Tell me a romantic story between you and Chrissy.
A romantic what?
Story between you and Chrissy. Because you guys are one of my favorite ships.
Pick your favorite.
You guys have been together for years.
Long
How many years?
7 years.
Nice.
I think 7 or 8.
Yeah, we just now will hit 8 years this July. We got married a week before our 1-year dating anniversary. Oh, I don't
Wait,
mean like...
when did you get married?
July 2nd?
When? Last year?
No.
I was gonna say, you didn't invite me.
Oh, no,
Like,
that was years ago. I didn't know you.
Oh.
Had I known
You should have invited me.
Well, I drew the pentagram, and
I'm a
you
great-
never showed.
I didn't get the call.
Dude,
I'm
I
a great wedding
guarantee
guest.
you,
I
even
get
if-
toasters.
I guarantee you, we were fucking strangers, and I invited you to the wedding. You and Chrissy would have came with a fucking toaster.
You shouldn't
Yeah, we
summon
would've.
demons. It's messy. The materials are expensive. If you're
Do you
bad enough, the demons will come to you.
Do you know what the
Yes.
first thing that we did as a married couple was?
What?
We were over our time. We were supposed to be married outside, but they had a slip and slide out there drying. I said, I will not get married under a slip and slide like my mother. And they let us inside the church. The first thing I did, because my stomach was all torn up, Richard had to leave the door open because it would automatically lock. And I had my dress all the way up to my nipples, and I had diarrhea. And I was on the toilet, and I said, I'm sorry. The whole time. And Richard goes, it's fine. And I'm like, it's not. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. While it was happening. I know it stunk to high heaven, and poor Richard's holding up the door, and he's like, this is the bitch I chose. This is the horse that I've decided I'll hook my wagon to.
Well,
Yeah,
First thing we did as
dedication.
At least you guys have like a good married relationship, though.
a marriage. I would
Because
say so.
I know I have seen a lot of couples that have not lasted throughout the years, and couples that are like barely together by a prayer.
Like a string.
Yes.
Same
Yeah,
with
and
the
it's,
kids.
and it's not even a healthy one. It's like not good because there is a guy. I won't say who because I know them and I know their children. And their
It's
children's
me!
children. No,
Dude,
but
you're
he
gaslighting.
he referred to his marriage as eating the same plate of spaghetti every night for the rest of your life, and how he's just sick and tired of it. And I'm like,
Oh.
get divorced.
You get a
Like,
new plate.
if you're that
Get a new
unhappy with
plate.
your
Yeah.
spaghetti, then maybe you didn't want spaghetti. Maybe
Well-
you wanted something else and you settled for spaghetti.
Well,
And
you
like
changed
maybe
the
you should
noodles,
sit
lasagna.
with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm like,
lasagna
well,
is-
maybe you should sit with that, And because that was the advice that he tried to give his essential stepkid. And the stepkid's like, okay, but if I, using your own metaphor here, if I was with someone and like I chose them and I'm stuck with them for however long because that's how he wants to phrase it. He's like, oh, you're stuck with the same plate of spaghetti. And he's like, well, would you want to eat spaghetti every day for the rest of your life? She goes, did I want spaghetti? Then yeah, I'm going to enjoy spaghetti every day for the rest of my life.
You're talking about
You
people who are
clearly did not want
depressed.
spaghetti, though, good sir. You wanted something else, and you got spaghetti.
Do you know why I eat 2 meals out of the day? Cereal. And I'm thrilled every time I eat cereal. And I marry Lou. When I worked at Walmart, what did I pack every day for lunch?
Sure.
Cereal.
But it was-
I would have cereal for
That was
breakfast.
just his weird metaphor of being like, he was unhappy in his marriage. He's still in said marriage, very unhappy, mind you. And he's just, they won't do anything about it. They keep themselves in this very fickle teeter-totter where they're like, oh, I swear I'll leave you. And then they're like, no, baby, I didn't mean it, I'm sorry. And I'm like,
Ooh.
you're just holding each other on a teeter-totter, waiting for the other one to jump off. Just do it.
I think it's
But they
because
won't do it.
me
They're
and
not
Richard,
ready
like,
yet.
we're not
It's just
perfect
toxic.
couple.
It's not good.
We're not a perfect couple by any means. I think one time Mary Lou was hanging out with us and we got in a fight over something stupid.
Yeah.
And then I said, Mary Lou, what do you think? Mary Lou looks at me right in the eyes, like into the soul. Looks at Richard right in the eyes, into the soul. Says, looks down at her phone and goes, I think you're both autistic. Is what she said. And I go, oh my god. Okay, possibly. But like, for an outside it's funny. Because I believe Richard is autistic because he has a lot of, okay, I'm not a doctor, but he has a lot of the list check off. Yesterday he was overstimulated because he was dealing with the paper strider, which is a loud noise, and we were dealing with rats, which
Audio
that's what I do.
simulation is not great.
No, and I came up behind him because I was like, oh, you look so cute, give me a hug. And he goes, why are you here? He goes, why he wasn't even doing anything? Why are you here picking at me? And I said, I don't mean to. And he goes, get away. And then I'm like, dude, your autism's acting up. And then he'll shut down. And I'm like, okay, I'll leave him alone. Come back an hour later. He's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, he
yeah.
was just overstimulated.
Yeah, because it's too much.
But that's the thing, like, marriage and ourselves, any relationship is a learning process in itself. Because even like with Mary Lou, at one point in time, I wasn't allowed to touch her.
Yeah, I was really weird about.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
a lot of
had
stuff.
too much lotion on my hands. Working at Walmart, her elbows were showing, and I did what my mom does. If you put too much lotion on mom's hands, she'll go wipe on
Yes.
someone. Well, I said, hey, do you want some lotion for your elbows? And she goes, no, I don't do lotion. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, I respect that. I got way too much. Oh, look at how tiny my hands are. I overshot it. So I was like, okay. And then out of nowhere, I went, wipe. And she went, I know what you did! That's what she said. And she called me out. And I was like, that was such an intrusive thought. I let the intrusive thoughts win. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. And Mary Lou goes, no, it's too late. Wouldn't let me near her. And we never hugged for years.
It was just weird.
Yeah, and then, like, I had a breakdown or whatever. And then Mary Lou's like, would you like a hug? I'm like, oh my god, this will be our first hug. She goes, it's okay. You can hug me. For 8 seconds. Like, she was like, no, but I felt it. I counted 8 seconds because I'm like, anything over that is too romantic.
No, it's okay.
So I hugged her and I was like, oh my god, I got a hug for Mary Lou. And the whole day I was cheesing. I was like, the cable was out. I was like, dude, nothing get me down. I got a hug from Mary Lou. But yeah, so now we don't hug all the time.
No, but I'm cool with it. So
I had a really bad day. And she was driving me around. She was part of my bad day. It wasn't her. She was the best part.
No, yeah.
Okay.
We were both involved in a very not great day.
It was a really bad day. And I told her in her tiny car, I'm like, dude, I feel so fucked up. I was like, can I lay my head on your shoulder? And she goes, yeah, man. So she adjusts her driving position so I can lay my head on her shoulder. I'm like, I'm not going to cry, but I'm really close to crying. And she goes, you can cry if you want. I'm like, nope, not today. Devil ain't going to win on me in this one. And I just now realized that for when I'm hot, and I'm like, man, I love complaining. I wait till the absolute last fucking minute to pull out my fan to say, oh, it feels amazing. But it's not you, it's not the air conditioner. I'm just like sweating for two now.
Dude, I'm like
Just
sweating
zesty.
over here and I can feel
Oh,
it.
I'm good. But thank you.
Sorry,
Sweaty.
I took over your time for Chrissy's story.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Do you have time for
You're good.
Chrissy's story?
Yeah, we got like a couple minutes. We're okay.
Okay, Chrissy's story.
Okay, so I'm an emotional person with emotional issues. Lots of times. I was way worse when I was young. And I mean really bad. Like I was
How old were you when you met? How old were you when you met?
I actually met him, I think let's see.
God, you were digging through your files.
I know, there's a lot of files in there. There's like too much I have to sort through.
SpongeBob, the name! We need the name!
So many files. Well, when you're a therapist for so many years, you have like other people's files in your head, so you have to like sort through. You don't forget, because if you do, you're an asshole.
I'm totally fine with it.
I'll keep them. They're like stored back here. But, so I first met Chrissy. It was through friends, and I just picked Chrissy up at their house. It was so weird. I think I was like 19. I just drove out there because we were talking on Facebook, of course, because you talk to your friends online before you go pick them up. And I had brought my other friend Corey with me, and Corey was dressing in suits at that time, and then I was like in full goth regalia. I was like really like...
Dude, your out-the-box porcelain doll goth phase was awesome.
Oh, it was something else.
It was a lot.
I definitely had that white Ben Nye. Yeah, Ben Nye's makeup, I think. Is it Ben Nye? Can't remember. One of the other ones. But it was so odd. I realized how fucking weird it was to pull up to a trailer park. Dude in a suit, goth chick, and in a really fucked up car. Just pulling up to pick up this really short person in a really giant
car
scooter.
noise?
Yes, it was like beat and then shake.
And so would I. I'm like, this can't work! Beating shit at your car.
But just very, very sweet meeting Chris. It was just a whole different thing. I just looked at him like, so you cool with us like picking you up and you don't really know us? I remember just making it really awkward. God. Poor Chrissy. But Chrissy actually stayed and became really good friends with me before I ended
would
up
say
being
you guys
with
are
them.
really good friends.
We were. I was unfortunately with the wrong person for a long time. I fucked up. Well, Chrissy helped me really realize that was the wrong person. They're like, hey, why does this person do a really fucked up thing all the time to you? And I'm like, I don't know, thought it was normal. And Chrissy was like, that's bad.
Oh,
That's no good.
but
that's
that is actually their mannerisms. So they'll be like, "That's bad," and I'm like, "That is bad."
Yes. Like, it takes you so long to realize that you just get there and you're like, shit, that's fucked up. Oh no, what have I done?
It's too late.
It's too late. I'm locked into marriage now. This shit's hard.
I was thinking I put too much ketchup on my hamburger. It's too late. I can't fix it.
Same thing. Same thing, really. Bad marriage, bad hamburger. Those take a while to make better.
Both gives you the shits.
They do. Both make you anxious,
Oh, that's fair.
and they cost money.
Mm-hmm.
Man. But yeah, that was like the
So this burger has too much ketchup. I want to return. And this asshole beside me. Return him too.
You can't send them back. Their moms usually don't take them.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, I'm glad that they convinced you to know your worth.
Yeah, I definitely have a different life, and I'm not to say I was perfect either. I was a complete shitter. Like, I was not good.
I think if you can't like look back on yourself and not know that you were a bad person, you didn't grow.
Yeah, you didn't grow if you
Mary
didn't
Lou,
know.
you
Yeah.
sucked.
I just really cringy shit.
No, I picked you out because you were eating gummy worms. Where I'm like, Mary Lou, back in the day, you sucked.
No, I did some cringy crap.
I did too.
I stuck with some less than decent people.
Right. I used to carry everything that should be in the pockets in my bra. And one time I went to have sexy time with a guy, and I was wearing a sports bra, so you have to like lift him up.
Yeah.
I lift him up, and my fucking cell phone fell in his face. My kitchen timer, because I was working out. I know, a kitchen timer, a whole ass kitchen. I'll show you the kitchen timer. It's this big. It's, it's the size of a wallet.
Everything.
And 2 pennies and a
The
nickel.
lamp popped out.
And my
Oh my god, I need this
dude,
for my book though.
no joke, my fucking chapstick and my earrings because they were too big. And he went, oh, like that. He goes, what the hell was that? And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, and like there's like a tube of lipstick stuck to my nipple or something like that. I'm like, oh man, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, let me get that. And he goes, like,
You know, he was just lucky to be near you.
dude, he's lucky he didn't lose a fucking eye. There was like a huge ass kitchen timer. Oh, an MP3 player. Do you remember those?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the old one that looked like a fucking tube.
Yeah, and it would just show you a little bit of what like the title is, and you always had to like click it to get the good song. It's never the song you started on.
No.
I don't know why we think it is, but it's definitely not that one. One of my shower thoughts.
I don't smell nothing.
How often are you naked ever?
When I'm in the shower.
Shower?
Sometimes during sexy time. Maybe falling asleep naked.
Girl, I keep shit like covered in my belly. No thank you.
Let me
Chrissy
tell you
don't
something.
care, but I do.
Me and Chris have been together for 8 years. He's only seen me from the elbows down. That's it. Yeah. Well, I was having a shower thought where I'm like, I just want to look good in clothes. You know what I mean? Because obviously I look great in this tarp, but it's a lot of fabric, dude.
You gotta wear some more form-fitting, so you can really tell that you lost weight. Obviously,
Thank
like
you.
you can really.
I'm hoping the double chin
teeny.
goes away.
And you look beautiful.
I've gotten more weight.
She did at one point in time lose 30 pounds just a few months ago.
By starving myself.
No,
she
don't do
she
that.
had to get her.
No, I
gallbladder
had
out.
to. I straight up had to because I had to get the gallbladder surgery, and he's like, "Oh, you need to lose as much weight as possible."
Shit. Yeah.
So, I was essentially
With that
just
medical
eating.
push.
Yeah, I was
just
essentially just
don't
eating like
eat.
protein shakes for every meal of the day, and that was it. And I would go to bed with like hunger pains, and I just went to bed
Dude,
and
you
I
must
dealt
have
with
been
it.
so fucking constipated. That shit always makes me constipated. I'll cut this out.
Weirdly enough, I wasn't constipated ever, but I was hungry all the fucking time. And of course, once the gallbladder was out and I could eat whatever, I gained it all right back so fast.
Do you know what the
So
British
fast.
do?
Well, it's supposed to help you lose weight when you get the gallbladder
No.
out, right?
No.
No?
It just helped you not have attacks.
Yeah, gallbladder.
My gallbladder wasn't even working.
Is a bile storage that's supposed to help break down food faster.
It's supposed to help
for
you
like
digest
Reese's tubes
foods.
and foods that are hard to digest.
Yeah, it's
Mine
supposed
don't
to help
do
you
that
digest
anymore.
foods.
Do you still have one?
Yeah, I still have the fucker. Insurances.
We'll see. Mine was not working, but when it tried to work, I was doubled over in pain, vomiting into a toilet. So I wasn't doing so
I thought I
good.
had colic, which is the stupidest fucking thing ever, because I couldn't burp and I'm 18 and mom goes, Emily, you cannot have colic. You're 18, you're not a newborn. But that's the feeling because you can't burp it up or nothing. So I had to constantly have to stick my finger down my throat and vomit. And my gallbladder went bad on the weekend that Thanksgiving went bad. Dude, I've talked so much my voice hurts. But like the bathroom was attached to my boyfriend at the time's kitchen wall. So I ate what I could and everybody knew I was sick. And then as they're eating, they're hearing me go, I want to stop. Just vomiting violently. And then I came back and I'm like, I'm just like.
Yeah, there are foods
And
that
they're
I
all looking at me
can't
like-
eat ever again because of it.
Cheese sticks.
I can't have chili or Gold Star or steaks or
I can eat
corn
anything.
or peas.
I mainly like to eat out of friends' hands.
Something about peas.
No, Liz is like, yeah, it's a chicken feed. And I'm like,
I'll feed you. We got chicken feet.
let's learn from this talking.
We all have a lot of similar situations and
Yeah,
very different situations.
We all
at the
learned
same
that
time.
Emily would love a penis, but won't get one.
Well, it's hard to make those.
They are hard.
Okay.
And
I'm good without having
also
one.
is terrified now to give birth. So
It's
I might have a sit down with Richard saying, okay, I'll have the hemorrhoids, you do the carrying of the baby.
So it's explaining all that was not intended to scare you. It's more just the
It's too
reality
late. It
of
was like a German fairy tale.
yeah.
There once was a boy that sucked on his thumbs.
Honestly,
Then
my
his mother cut
relationship
him
was
off.
worse than
He
my
no longer
pregnancy.
sucks on
Agreed.
his thumbs.
Yeah,
Agreed.
like
I
the
think
relationship that I was dealing with was way worse than any of the issues that I had throughout pregnancy.
Yes.
And for other people, it's the entire pregnancy. Like, it was like, oh, I'm having a baby, but then your whole body's going, I'm dying! And you're like,
Did you guys ever see Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah, I love Pan's Labyrinth.
I watched it again. Her mom had the worst experience. You remember she died?
yeah, but that's
Yeah.
essentially what it is.
Yeah, that's-
Because, like, they didn't have, like, midwives or medical and none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So your
Well,
body,
you remember
your
the
body
dad
just can't
shot the
keep up with
doctor the
it.
moment she went to labor. Oh my god.
Yeah, he did it. He did that shit on purpose.
Oh, he was an asshole. I hated that movie.
Oh, yeah. He did it
Well,
on
because of
purpose.
him. But the rest of the movie, I was like, it's so pretty. The eyeless guy.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was
Um,
good.
That one guy who's in all movies that deals with like a bodysuit where like they literally just paint skin on you. He was the body for Hagrid. He was the body for Abraham from Hellboy.
Oh yeah,
he was
he's
the eyeless
also
man.
he's also the fish that everyone wants to fuck from The Shape of Water.
I mean, you said it, I didn't,
Is
but
it a
yes.
good fish?
Did you watch
okay,
Shape
if
of
you've
Water?
ever seen Hellboy,
No, I've
No,
never seen it.
shut up,
Have you seen
shut up,
Hellboy?
quiet!
Yes.
hold on.
No spoilers.
I'm not.
I'll watch it with you.
I'm not.
We'll watch it together.
I've never watched The Shape of Water. I don't know
Craft
what it
Day,
looks like.
we'll watch it. We'll watch it. Craft Day, we'll watch it.
Hold on.
I have trouble
I'm excited.
sitting down.
Dude,
I'll
you
have
have
to get
trouble
up,
sitting down?
Yeah, I'll have to
Dude,
get up. Like,
I
it's gonna
had
kill
to
you sitting
sit down. I
I'm
had
like-
to sit down for that
You
movie.
can pace. It's your house.
If I would have
You
paced,
do you.
the carpet would have been moist. It was that good.
I've never seen The Shape of Water. I just know that he looks, or at least from what I've seen image-wise, that he looks vaguely like Abraham from Hellboy.
yeah, and everybody wanted to fuck him too, especially if you're a furry.
So,
But-
like, the fish dude from Hellboy.
Okay, so
essentially.
this is a
Cool.
spoiler, but only if
Yeah,
you can.
pretty-
okay,
yeah,
so this
potentially,
is
yeah.
only a spoiler if you can see. But the main character can't speak; she's a mute, and her friend isn't. And she asked if she had sex with a fish, and she goes, "How?" And she does this motion where she goes, "That's how his penis comes out."
Oh, like a
He's like a snake almost.
yeah.
It's weird.
Like the ducks. The ducks who did it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
The stem leaves.
terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Terrifying.
It's got that, like, a little scale that flaps over and the snakes are like, hang, look at my
But how
hand.
amazing is that her friend felt comfortable enough? I think this was like back in the
Did you fuck
1940s.
a fish?
And she goes, but how? Because like when you see him, he has like the Ken
He's
doll
smooth like a
smooth.
mermaid, yeah.
And she goes, well, there's like a, and then this kind of, and I'm just like, dude, let me find out.
Well, that's how fish
I'm just
work.
curious.
Freaking
Yeah,
weird,
that's how
dude.
fish work.
I'm just
They
curious.
got little, like, hidden weenies.
It's terrifying. I learned that birth is scary. I learned that Liz is adorable. And that I am a gift. What did you learn, Marilyn?
Just that experiences are vastly different for each person, you know. A lot in common, a lot of differences, but who knows?
Maybe next pregnancy, maybe you'll develop diabetes on purpose.
I don't know. I'm not even
Purpose.
sure if I'll have another pregnancy. I've debated it,
That's
but I
fine.
don't know.
Well, that's what you learn.
That some people have really good experiences through having birth.
Those people are not me.
Those people are not me.
Yeah.
And that I always like that mental health looks differently on different people. I always
Yeah.
really like that because it can be the exact same diagnosis yet vastly different.
different. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, like all three of us have dyed hair. We're put together. We look washed, and yet we all have depression. So as soon as we leave, I guarantee you that like one of us is going to eat her weight in cereal, which is me.
and shove it in weeks.
Oh, you look great.
Yeah, you look really good.
Yeah,
So
you
you could not tell.
She was saying that
Like,
too. That like getting a boyfriend, even though like she was almost certain that she was asexual, has improved how she treats herself.
I've
Aw.
started.
Yeah.
I've started self-caring again a little
Yes.
more than I
Because
had
someone
for a
else
while.
outside of her can talk to her
Well,
constantly.
to quote my therapist, I had become complacent with my life as it was for what it was, including my child. And despite having guilt that my kid was not, quote unquote, enough to knock me out of that mental state, having an outside force go, hey, I'd pick you, and it kind of made me go, oh, okay.
And he
okay.
really does. He
I
does
kind of
her.
want to do a little better now.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah.
Oh, I think that's so sweet.
Nice mounts.
You guys are one of my favorite ships too.
I think 5
Canon
months at
ships.
the end of this month.
And she didn't even think they would. She never thought they would ever like actually be boyfriend.
I haven't
girlfriend.
been in a relationship since the guy that got me pregnant with my daughter, and that was 11 years ago.
So he's worth.
This
a
is
lot.
my first relationship in 11 years, and it's really significant for
And I'm
so many different reasons.
I'm trying all the time to never ruin the relationship.
You're not gonna ruin the
But-
You're not gonna
relationship.
ruin
Oh, I know
Silly.
I won't, but I will. Where I
Nah.
just show up and I'm like, Mary Lou! She goes, what? I'm like, I'm gonna kiss your dad. You don't break up chat with you and Chatham.
Nah.
And she goes, kiss him! I dare you!
And
I'm
fun.
exhausted, but I had fun talking.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually felt like
Yeah,
I'm
it
tired.
was therapeutic.
Yeah, definitely therapeutic.